Okay, we're calling the meeting to order 7:01 or so. Um, So we have no one participating remotely, that script. And there are no presentations or proclamations to make. So can we have a roll call, please?
Yes. Councilmember Walter is absent. Councilmember Hufty. Councilmember Flynn. Here. Vice Mayor Taylor.
Present.
Mayor Haskell.
Here?
We have a quorum.
Great. Thank you very much. We're going to invite the town manager, the interim town. We will.
Are you hearing me now? You okay?
Yes.
All right, just a couple of quick things, few notes. First of all, there is no council meeting on August 13th, so our next 7th of August. So kind of continuing the little break over the summer. Our next summer concert will be Thursday nights here. Thursday night, the 7th of August. Get the right Thursdays here, the 7th of August, 5:30 here. As this is my final meeting on the dais, I did want to thank the council for the opportunity to serve this community. I want to thank you for all that I've learned. This community is clearly the most effective that, which I think is great. I mean, I've enjoyed getting to know chairs with the and I learned a lot from each, and it was just a very talented community. And I also think, and if you look at some of the accomplishments, or I feel that working together with the staff and you, that we some good last 6 months. And I mentioned this to the mayor the other day. I was coming out of the little coffee place over in what they call Ladera, but the address. But somebody who I couldn't quite remember who. Thank you for being. He said the community feels more stable. I thank you for that, for the partnership with the staff, but also want to acknowledge how important it is for community and the town and the staff to feel about their community when it's more stable and more. And it doesn't mean that you have to agree on everything, but it does mean that if you can work together, you can disagree, but you can be civil, you can be respectful. I've been in those cities where the councils haven't gotten along, and the impact on the community is not good. The impact on staff is not good. You respect each other, you get along, and it's made a difference here. And yeah, one city I was in, we had 3 council members of the 5 quit in 6 months. That kind of instability that's why I served there as interim, of course, you know. This council has worked well together, all 5 of you. And I also, it gives confidence as we go on to this next, on to the rest of this year and into 26. And I do want to let you know that your staff is good, very good. You've gotten to know some of them pretty well in these meetings. Has brought the but I want to do special acknowledgement for Corey. I have not had a better assistant town manager or city manager than this one. She is truly remarkable and is a real partner. As for my next steps, Sunday, August 3rd, I take a how to write poetry class at Yale College. But I will remain a trustee on the pension fund board in San Jose overseeing $3 So I'll be there until 2020. So I'll be doing. And I am looking forward to see how I didn't do very well in writing creative short stories, but maybe I'll do better in poetry. It's an interesting thing. And I just want to say, I really believe you'll be in good hands with Darcy Smith, which is coming up on the agenda. And I've acknowledged to you and to Darcy that I will help every way I can. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Catherine, a procedural question. Is it appropriate for us to thank Mark at this point?
Yes, it is.
All right. All right, I'm going to take a few minutes to acknowledge the immense gratitude that I personally have for Mark's advice, borrowing on his experience. I did not know about the experience with 6 members quitting before. I'm glad I didn't. But it's so important for us to figure out a way through what could be. And I do believe the staff is pulled together and, we've really tried as a council to do the right thing for the town. And I know we're all committed. But Mark's contribution and the willingness to listen, the willingness to reach out, the engagement with the community, and just the equanimity with which he has handled a lot of trials and tribulations has been inspiring. So I wish him well in his poetry. But if that gig doesn't work out, keep in touch because we have many things that we could suggest you engage. But I do have a small token of our appreciation. I'm going to give it to you and then to ask the other council members to offer any thoughts that they would like to.
Thank you, Mayor.
All right. So you may know Herb Dangler, Heroes of Art, and he has gifted to the town several items, and we have a print of one of those statement underneath it, and it says to Mark Linder, recognition of many important contributions in 2025 from the Portola Valley Town Council. And we are going to give this to you now and frame it for you. So thank you, Mark.
Thank you very much.
Isn't that pretty? And I have to thank Rebecca for helping affect that. She,
Thank you.
and so I'll invite my fellow council members to make any remarks.
Mark, I would also like to thank you for bringing to the town and to the staff and making the staff feel more secure and welcome and appreciated. I really appreciate all of your outside the box thinking that pulls on all your long experience, coming up with ideas that many of us were not aware of or didn't know about. So also very much appreciate, I guess, the gentleness might be the best word, how you go about kind of new to, so that we sort of learn the best way to do forward. I really appreciate and I'm very grateful that you were able.
Thank you.
Mary, anything?
Well, I have loved, of course, every minute of. It's wonderful to feel so heard. You're a great listener, and you allow the out of the box thinking to come out of the box, which helps everybody, decreases the frustration tremendously. So you're a talented leader, and you knew that all trying to do it, and you did a great job getting to this point. I did bring you an independent gift, which I'm sure the attorney give it to you right this minute.
Mary, I don't think we take it away, but I do think file a document. So sorry, Mark.
No, I think the clerk will be.
Right, well, this is, the pot is not just the flowers.
Oh,
because
You're good.
our-
you're
It's
good.
under $50. It's fine.
Oh, okay. Thank you so much.
Thank
And I
you.
also have another
Appreciate
little gift, which I brought in a year ago. It's got really, really overproductive here and takes some
Portola Valley eggs.
and
Okay.
the Portola Valley eggs. And I just wanted to make the point for your poetry that the eggs are all about beginnings, which comes first, but also just the beginning and how things can grow and be stewarded. And you've done a great job doing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Craig?
I'm surprised you didn't bring.
For way too much trouble. I have some at home. You don't want them.
So I, concur with everything my fellow council said. We've met weekly. I found every one of our meetings really been great work. As everybody said, I think you brought a lot of stability, and between you and staff, basically working through the. Yeah, we still have a lot of issues to go forward on, but making progress, and that's always make steady progress. So thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Greg.
Thank you.
Thank
All
you,
right,
council.
Mark, we're going to be indebted to you a very long time. So thank you. And I know that members of the public may have point on the town manager report or any that is not. So I'm looking at the schoolhouse and seeing there's a few hands. So first I'll ask Karen.
Turn that on. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So you may hear a lot of the same words that you guys just, but first of all, I want you all to mark your calendars for Saturday, September 20th for our annual Zots to Tots fundraise and picnic brought to you by the Parks and Rec Committee. The race begins at 10 a.m. and the picnic at 11. Family favorites return, and don't worry, we are spending less money, including bouncy houses, a petting zoo. Cub Scouts will run games and the older Scouts will be grilling burgers and hot dogs. And we have a local, awesome, and gracious band that will be playing. They're called Up and to the Right, and you won't want to miss them. And speaking of Up and to the Right, which indicates a positive trend, I'd like to thank all of you for leading our town up and to the right this year. I know that council members put in many hours, barely get. You guys, along with Mark Lindner, with his wisdom, and all the great staff here have made tremendous progress on many fronts. Our budgeting process has become much more transparent. Our housing element was certified by the state, and we've been building at Dorothy Ford Park and capable and friendly staff are getting hired, and we're all excited for the new town manager, although we will miss you, Mark. And what's been so refreshing for residents and a part of a team in creating, I personally, yes, there is still work ahead of us, but I like where we are going. Yes, we appreciate you all. And Mark, please don't be a stranger. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, other hands in the schoolhouse. Betsy, please.
Well, thank you, Karen. It's so true. Each one of you council members, a debt of gratitude. Tremendous amount of work, all for the goodwill of it. So thank you. And moving right along to the man of the night. I want to acknowledge that the January appointment of interim town manager Mark Linder has led to the most impressive morale turnaround I have ever. I speak for many more than myself to say that witnessing and working with our staff, that day by day from winter to spring, we became a team again. And it has been so heartening. I've admired your focus, your restraint, your patience, your positive encouragement, and your sincere interest in people so beautifully expressed. It has all come together to make you a true healer for our community. To be sure, there is training for Darcy Smith and staff and you leave us not only with faith that it can be done, but everywhere from Portola Valley to Washington, that good leadership matters a very great. So thank you for all of that. And if I can, in anticipation of a future vote, that our soon-to-be town manager, Darcy Smith, we are really, really lucky to have secured someone of your prodigious background, talents, and capabilities. And I'm as touched as anyone here to learn. Previously studied with George Mader. So I applaud your taste for destiny. Welcome aboard.
All right, thank you.
You Betsy.
And there was one other hand.
Hello, Mark. I had no idea this was your night, but congratulations. Good evening, everyone. My name is Sean Jordan. I lived in Portola Valley during the 1990s and 2000s, and I attended and graduated from Ormondale and Corte Madera School. I'm here representing my grandfather, Bob Jordan, passed away in. Their names are on the back of the wall back there. Had an immense impact on this community. We actually held my grandmother's celebration of life in the town center community hall. My grandparents moved to Portola Valley in 1965 and were two of the earliest recipients of the Portola Valley Founder due to their influence in shaping the town. More specifically, Bob Jordan worked on Parks and Recreation. My grandmother, Bobby Jordan, worked in youth programs. My goal tonight is to be added to the town council 7th, so that my father and I can present a vision we have to commemorate their lives in the form of a bench or. I've never done anything like this before, but it feels meaningful to me, honoring their 40-plus year contribution. We've been gathering dozens of testimonials, past and current Valley residents who can attest to the deep impact my grandparents have had on the local. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you very much. We are not allowed to, but we hear you and we want to support this effort. So we will take this and staff
Contact information.
and get back to you.
How about contact information?
What?
Contact information?
I believe we have contact information already. Thank you so much for coming though, and thank you and your grandparents. All right,
You have contact information.
Thank you.
good. All right, we have Rita Gomez online as the only. Rita?
There. Oh. Hi there. Hopefully you can hear me. And
Yes.
I just want to say, Mark, thank you for all your work. I'm sorry that you weren't able to fix the sound quality at the schoolhouse because it's awfully choppy tonight once again. But please, leave somebody's number so they can get done. You've been not only working with the staff and with the council, but reaching out to the community and listening to them and following up on them. I'm not saying that slow because other people haven't been doing that, but I just want to encourage people to continue to do so. So thank you for all your work. Don't be a stranger. And, if you see the town slacking, please give these people a call. You can meet at my house. I'll help you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rita. All right, good sentiments. I see no other hands online. So we'll move to consent agenda. And I will open for public comment. Or any. I am not seeing any hands raised in the schoolhouse. Rita Gomez, you have a hand raised. Maybe not.
Yes, this is concerning an item on the consent agenda. On the warrant list, there's, quite a bit of money that is being spent for landscaping and native gardening. And it just seems, if there can be some discussion, I know we were cutting back on spending extra monies at this time. But, it just seems to be about $40,000 and it could be more, that's on the warrant list, about $40,000 in landscaping and native gardening plants. And if that can be clarified or discussed in some way, that would be great. Thank you.
Thank you. I see no other hands raised. So we'll move on to ask the council if anyone wants to pull something. My only comment, and I assume I do not have to pull the item, is that our interim town mayor's name is spelled correctly on the minutes of June. I assume does not need to be pulled for that.
Correct.
Okay.
Staff will make that correction.
I'd like to pull C, the warrant list, and E, V5, please.
Okay. We'll pull those. Can I have a motion to approve item 6A, B?
So moved.
Second,
Okay, we don't need a roll call vote,
You all
right?
in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any
aye.
Opposed? Okay, the motion passes. All right, Rebecca, discuss on item 6C.
On the warrant list, I just had a couple of questions. The HVAC repairs, I keep seeing $1,000 worth of HVAC repairs every month. And I'm just wondering is this the same machine? Is it machines in different buildings? Is it the machine that we're hoping to replace? Could we just get a little update on what the status is on that, or if it's a normal thing to have such high bills?
Well, they've had multiple issues. It's not just the one, but there was a repair done, but there were some and then there was also a sensor issue with the panel. But yeah, we do have some aging infrastructure. But the boiler was just replaced this past month. You're going to see that in a future warrant list as well.
So the whole boiler for the heating? So even though we were kind of talking about the idea of having it become a heat pump, is this for the hot water or something?
Well, the boiler failed, so we had to replace it. And so that was for all the water in the town hall. And Robert can provide some more additional information on the landscaping questions and the boiler HVAC.
Okay. Robert, would you mind coming up? Thank you.
So I'll go ahead and start with the boiler. Previously, we were looking at securing funding for the boiler via Peninsula Clean Energy Grant funding. We were unable to do so. The cost associated with replacement with a tankless hot water heater, which would be natural gas, was approximately $20,000, whereas replace heat pump, which would be a tank version, would have been more on the order of $60,000 to $80,000. The amount of hot water used by the town center did not justify using a tank heat pump version. Typically with the limited water use, especially with not constant use of the town center, it is more efficient from a overall best practice, a tankless, and natural gas is typically what's done in that case. It ends up being more efficient than electricity. If we looked into doing a heat pump that was electric, we had to additionally replace the overhead line coming into town center, and we would have had to upgrade the main panel.
Wow.
So unfortunately, we tried to pursue that. We were unable to do. I just want to express that we did look into that and do the best we could. The best use of money was to replace it rather than to continue to have piecemeal items.
And when you said that, working with Peninsula Clean Energy funding didn't work, does that mean that we lost that funding, or has it just been gotten an
We have secured that grant. We were unable to secure, Peninsula Clean Energy is the electricity provider. Their grant does not support natural gas utilities. We have secured that grant funding, and we have secured it for a number of potential. It appears right now the best cost on return for the next coming years would be a lighting efficiency upgrade for town services, but we also have left that fairly flexible for consideration.
Did you say light?
Lighting, correct.
Lighting,
LED
okay.
replacements.
LED.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Yeah, well, I've got you. Can I ask trails we did at resurfacing and grading? B&B.
I can look into that. Specifically, there was one trail which is showing significant rutting along, which was brought up previously by Trails and Paths Committee and was showing significant issues with drainage. There was drainage put in place and this of a section of that trail which was rutting. That was part of the expense, I believe. Land necessary weed whacking, annual trimming, things that happen annually. I could see if I could pull it up, but I believe that that's part of the necessary fire maintenance that happens every.
By the school, I take it.
Correct.
Okay.
For the trail rutting case, and then additional funding was part of the annual expense for mowing, weed whacking, so on and so forth.
Good work. And that's been completed, I take it.
Correct. We are not expecting that funding to in the future month.
Craig, any questions?
I actually have a couple more.
Okay, let us all go
Okay.
through once and then everyone will have their chance. Do you have any? Okay, my two are on the trail. The trail seems wider than it used to. Was the trails committee engaged in determining the look and feel of that resurfacing?
Was this by the school for
Yeah.
the?
Mhm.
I believe it was not. I'd have to go and look at where it was previously. I do not believe. Was this location where the log was put in place? Where there an issue there, or is this where some gravel was put down for the rutting?
We don't need to get into this at this point. I was just curious, the main point in requesting and monitoring.
The Trails Committee was involved in
Okay.
requesting that the rutting be repaired.
Mhm.
There was no request for widening the trail per se.
Yeah,
I
okay.
can look into that.
That's
I
fine.
don't believe that it was, but I will follow up with.
Yeah.
Town facilities.
Okay, great. And then I do, if you could give a high level in connect.
Part of it was in connection with this. That
Okay.
is correct. I believe this was for closing out the prior fiscal year, correct? Yes, so part of it was in connection with this to try to ensure that future rutting does not happen in this coming fiscal year and in future fiscal years. Part of the landscaping charge did associate drainage with that location, which we've seen constant rutting happening and constant piecemeal repairs be needed. And then I believe the majority of funding was for annual mowing, maintenance.
Okay. Okay. Rebecca, back to you. Thank you.
Yeah, there was also a charge for mowing word, and it got billed to Fire Services Department. So I'm curious, why was it that department versus Open Space Fund, for example?
assigned to open space, but it was also part of the fire service. It was also a part charged to gas tax as well.
Okay.
It wasn't all coming out of the general fund.
All right. And then I guess my last question on the budget was also we're seeing a bunch of charges for the closet over there. We seem to be doing a lot of repairs and replacements of the system and I guess is still not perfectly working. Is there an update about that system? Is there any plan to kind of redo the whole thing or where are we with?
When you're referencing the AV system, the one in the schoolhouse specific.
Well, it said AV closet in the,
So, sure, that was a project that was approved by town council to fund. So I have spoken with John briefly. But yes, there is plan to utilize PV fund to do or IT, excuse me.
okay, great.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Can I have a motion to and accept of July 23rd?
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought we were going to move into the other one. CE, warrant E.
Yeah, we're only
Oh,
at
on C.
C.
Oh, okay.
So, we have, so can we have a motion to approve?
I move we approve 6C.
And I second it.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, that motion passes. So now we can go to 6C. Becca, what is your?
6E,
topic?
it's the approval of another 3-year contract with NV. And
Oh, okay. I misheard. This is I thought we were approving D or pulling D. now. So is there anything I need to do for the record, Catherine? That was my mistake.
No problem. Maybe what we should do is create the motion, just so everyone's on the same page in terms for the consent agenda.
Okay,
I can't remember now who made that motion.
I did.
okay. So go ahead.
We're going to
Got it.
approve A, B, C, D, and F.
Not C, because we
Oh,
just did that
because you just
separately.
separate-
So A, B,
F.
I second.
okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, so A, B, D, and F are approved. Okay. So now we're looking at 6C and, go ahead,
E.
sorry.
So this is concerning an amendment to hire again NV5 to do our civil engineering reviews for another 3 years. And I wanted to express some concerns about signing a 3-year contract with them, given that we will be having a new town manager, and I would like our town manager to evaluate coming year all of the service contracts that we have and make sure that they're all working effectively possible. I realize in reading the packet information, NV5 has been doing a good job and they've certainly been with us. However, I have interviewed several architects who work in, they are not so happy with NV5 and the efficiency which their projects are treated. And so I think it's, as we are kind of turning a page and starting a new chapter here, really important that we do evaluate all our service providers and give our new town manager the opportunity to be involved in that in the coming year about what makes sense and what. And also to, to work with NV5 this year, if there are improve our building and planning processes, having their work, how they do their work and what they question and what they and how they do their work. So I'm just sort of asking about the possibility, because the contract is not actually, wasn't in the packet, so it wasn't clear to say that of a 3-year contract, we would be easily able to get out of it, or if it makes more sense just to sign a 1-year.
All right, so we need to go through questions. So if you want to answer that question, I'll ask you. Move on to discussion.
There's not a specific requirement for there could be a 1-year contract that is amended next year.
Okay, Mary, do you have questions?
Yeah, it's a wonderful. How are you feeling with that contract? And you are very, we're relying on you for the expertise in this area, and do you?
I do believe there's a need for a contract qualified professionals in this regard. We have limited engineering support. As a background, just for contextual purposes, my background is a civil engineer, a fire protection engineer, and mechanical engineer. NV5 provides geotech, which is a higher tier of civil engineering. So a geotechnical engineering license under the state of is a higher tier that is a advancement above civil engineering. An example would be a surgeon versus a doctor. I think that the town benefits great. Those services be available to it, along with services with traffic engineering. Does that answer your question, Mary?
Perfectly.
Okay.
Thank you.
Craig, do you have questions?
Yeah. Again, the contract wasn't in the packet, but presumably, I mean, there's a compensation services in Exhibit C, and we pay them on some kind of hourly basis, services rendered. But it's not an exclusive contract. So I mean, if we sign a 3-year contract, aren't we basically just locking in the prices in Exhibit C? And if we chose after a year not to asking them to do stuff for us, it wouldn't cost us anything. Is that right?
Correct. My understanding is that agreement on certain rates for 3 years with a 3%. I believe overall that benefits the town, given
I agree.
everything.
Okay, I will ask the town attorney if she's reviewed.
I have not reviewed the.
Mhm.
And so my suggestion actually, and I don't know whether that prior version is the same template that we're using now, or whether we template such that we actually should just move them onto our current template since it's favorable to the town. It allows the town to cancel at any time with, I believe, 2 to 4 weeks notice. So that would be one option by direction to lock in those favorable rates, but get them on track so that
Okay, and the steps that would require for that are engaging and saying we want to use our template and providing that. And then tonight we would be saying if we approved moving forward on that, giving Robert the ability that is reviewed by you and on your template.
correct.
Okay.
And if Robert, you agree with that procedure, great.
Okay.
Yes, thank you.
And do we know that the other side is would be amenable to either a 3-year or a 1-year fully?
I believe their side would be amenable to both.
Okay. Okay. Great. All right, let's come back for, and having heard that. Oh, thank you, public. Well, we already took public comment on the, when I asked for public comment on the general agenda. So I would ask Catherine on that.
We do not.
Yeah. So let's bring it back for Craig to go first.
So I guess my sense is, I think Catherine's suggestion of moving it back makes a lot of But I also think that we've had NV5 basically served us well. So I think we should lock in the 3 on the new contract and basically give either the town manager or the town engineer sign it, just so it doesn't have to come back and go through this cycle again. And then if for some reason there's a hiccup, then figure it out and then you'll have to bring it back. But proving it with basically the new contract form for 3 years and basically giving whoever the appropriate person.
Okay, Mary?
Oh, I still had a question. How this, this particular expertise in geotechnical engineering, which is basically what we're getting in addition, relate to the fact that we have we have a geologist who we're paying and who on the warrant list pretty regularly?
You should just stay up there, Robert.
Yeah, I'll just wait up here for a while. So I will not say I fully understand all processes because I'm still coming to speed with that. I believe that NV5 services are permit review, meaning that those services are ultimately passed along via engineering deposit fees.
Okay,
Okay,
and
but when
they're
I-
reviewing projects by project, is that? Because there's the geologist that advises the town and certain types of projects, so I don't know if that helps Mary understand, but just that type of role versus the NV5 role.
Correct. I believe that the NV5 generally reviews a submitted plan document, for instance, various projects which may involve grading. We have right now projects which involves a private road, for instance, items like that.
So
Terrence,
I had been under the impression that
Yeah.
when I asked in the past about the geologist, that that's why he was kept on coming across the warrant list. So
I would need to I
yeah,
need to look
y-
into that more for you.
I have no further data than just, sounds like we already have. a
Okay,
geologist.
I want to keep this focused on the fact at hand. So if you need information to approve one approach or the other, that's what we want to focus, but you can offline to get that division of work understood.
I can, I'll look into that further for you. I apologize. I just
No,
have
that's okay.
familiarity in my short beginnings at this
Doing
time.
great.
Okay, so Mary, what would you want to do here? Let us know what your
Oh,
frame
how
of
do I
mind
feel
is.
about this contract? I'm for making it time limited. I am. And, I think we're consultant heavy, and geotechnical there has been some redundancy in it, I think. And maybe some unnecessary expenses. But I obviously am wanting to support you in whatever way you want to be supported. as best we
Okay, well,
can.
let's circle back when figure out what give. Rebecca?
So based on all the answers, all the questions, seems that if we do, the town will be protected, and based on the fact that this service provider is mainly evaluations and plan checking, and that we can send work to them or not, sounds like the town has enough flexibility to okaying this 2.5% per year increase on our new contract, as long as NV5 is okay with. That's what.
So new contract, you're open to, yep, because we can use it or not.
Mhm.
Okay, and that's pretty much where I am as well. I think move for consistency's sake is good. I'd be open to 3 years to lock in the rate, and then we can have a different evaluation. You know, if people have concerns, they can reach out to you and express how they want that. That's where I would mount. So can I have a motion, please, from somebody?
So I'll make a motion. I move that we approve this contract after we put it on the our current sort of town contract for 3 years, and that we give authority for signing to, would it be the town manager or the town engineer? I don't have a sense.
Let me just check our template right now and see who typically signs.
Okay.
Town manager.
Yeah, great. So then with the authority for the town manager to sign the contract.
I second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, any opposed? Okay, motion passes. Thank you. All right, we're going to move on to the regular agenda now. And the first item, as has been is the appointment of Darcy Smith as the approval of her employment act. So, is there a staff present? Want to hear?
Yes, I will be presenting this item. I would invite the subcommittee if you have anything to add to the presentation before moving on.
Sure.
There are a few little, things I need to say in terms of this employment contract. And so I want to make sure I check all those boxes before we move on with this very exciting item. So this, of course, is the appointment of Darcy Smith as town manager, approval of the agreement. As was process with assistance from Wendy Brown, an executive. The council met in closed session on three closed sessions to consider the appointment and provide direction. Wendy Brown for negotiation of terms. And so those terms and that contract is attached to this agenda packet. State law does require the council, before entering into the agreement, actually have verbal recitation of those. So I will do that right now. These are in the staff report, but I do need to make a verbal report. The contract provides these, as it includes a start date of July 20, so next Monday. And it's a 3-year contract with a termination date of July 31st, 2028, or unless earlier terminated under the provisions of the contract. It includes a base salary of $200,000 per year adjustments. It includes an auto allowance of $250 per month, and it provides for the same benefits that the town provides to it in regards to medical and dental. It also provides for 20 days, 12 days sick leave per year, and 96 hours per year of prorated admin leave. And then a few other items. Cause, and in addition, in the event of out cause, there would also be no severance benefits in the following that first year of employment. In that case, the manager would be entitled to 6 of severance benefits, or the amount of time left on the contract, whichever less. That's a pretty standard. And then in terms of resignation, the town manager may resign. And so those are really the key terms attached to the agenda packet. And I think that is it. And I would invite the subcommittee to elaborate on any just our interim with him on both on this this item, and then so with that, I'll pass it off to you, Mayor.
Thank you. I'll go first and Rebecca will weigh in because we subcommittee. Our task was focused on selecting the outside recruiter working with staff to work through the process and define the process. And so it's been a lot of work. It's been a long time that we've in that work, and we wanted to get it right. So I want to thank so many people for supporting this effort. Becca and I together and hard to figure out how this should, what we thought was a balance between effectiveness and transparency and a whole host of other attributes that were important to us. So first and foremost, we relied on Mark sage advice in terms of how this might be an effective process, and his advice has been remarkable in terms of its impact and the success of our outcome here. Wendy Brown, the recruiter, was in terms of she's seen so much and really took the time to understand our town, and we are indebted to her through other recruitments, but this was a special situation. We asked many town participants to weigh in forward, and both through submitting comments on what we should be looking for, online polls, and actually listening in to some interview questions and advising the town council on. So it's been a community effort, and I think that reflects well on Portola Valley. Our staff has been amazing to support the effort. So I'm just very pleased we've ended up with Darcy Smith as it, and we were enthusiastic about it. We can discussion, but on behalf of my participation in the subcommittee, it's been a pleasure and a great experience to see so much engagement. So Rebecca, over to you.
I would also agree with everything you've said, and good working with you. I appreciate your eagle eyes on all the. I also want to thank Mark for experience and outlook on hiring and what's typical. I also want to thank Corey for all of your work with facilitating all the meetings. The meetings in the town hall as well. I do want to reiterate that Mark's recommendation to hire her. She very thorough and listened very well, I felt. And then I also appreciate all the time that the town put into helping us to evaluate all. I thought the effort was very, very thorough. We evaluated a large number of candidates. We quite a few. We spent a significant amount of time on the questions that we asked. We had a very what was the word I'm looking for? Debate, if you will, among the five of us to really consider all of our candidates who are quite excellent. And I'm thrilled to welcome Darcy Smith, rose to the very. I think we were all impressed with her wealth of experience, her analytical skills, energy, and her motivation. And I think Portola Valley will benefit very well from her.
Thank you. Anything else before we go to questions?
Not for me. I think you can move on
Okay.
to public comment. Unless there's any
Well,
clarifying
unless
questions.
there's questions from the, so I assume there's no questions at the moment. Okay, now we can go to public comment. I don't know if I see no hands in the schoolhouse. I am seeing no hands raised online. So we can bring it back to discussion. We're looking to approve the appointment and the contract. So, Craig, do you want to start?
Sure. I think we should approve the contract.
Yeah.
Keep it simple.
I
Okay.
move- I move.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if this is.
All good.
to Say how thrilled I am that.
No, I
Darcy
think we should.
accepted, but yeah, I will keep it simple. I think working with Darcy.
Great. Mary?
Me too.
Okay. All right. Rebecca?
Me three.
Okay. And I am going to speak on behalf of Helen Wolf. So she's missing tonight's meeting, but she did want me a statement. She is sending a warm welcome to her. Sorry to miss. Wanted it read into the record that Helen is delighted that you were. She says, we're very fortunate to have you with your planning background, your long history of public service, your commitment to our rural character, and your willingness to roll up your sleeves in the effort to make our live. We are indeed lucky to have you join our town. Helen looks forward to working with you on while finding solutions that work for all of us. And again, she asked you to accept her warm. So that's from Helen. And I just want to say I'm thrilled to have the opportunity to work with you. We're going to benefit greatly from wealth of experience in the county. And I personally have really appreciated your enthusiasm for Portola place and a place of unique challenges, but unique capabilities and opportunities as well. And that really, and it's important, I know from speaking with community members that that is an important factor for us to work together forward as we significant challenge, but with the right resources, including you, in no small part, I think we're going to be in good shape. And so look forward to it and roll sleeves up and getting work with you. So thank you. So I'd approve it.
All right, so
So-
I'll make a motion. I
Okay.
move that we approve the appointment of Darcy Smith as town manager and approve the employment agreement attached.
I second it.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we are, the motion passes and Darcy will start on Monday. So thank you. Thank you for attending tonight. It's delightful. And we are going to have a copy with Darcy. Mark, do you want?
Do it or you want-
I want to announce the copy first and then we can do the gift.
You're correct, Mayor. We are having coffee with the town manager, 30th of July, 10:30 at the
Okay, 10:30 a.m.
10:30 a.m. Yeah, we have sometimes meet at. This will be at 10:30.
Not to last until. So thank you very much. And we
we're
encourage
looking
everyone in the,
So I hope people will come and
yeah,
good chance.
please
to
spread the word and we'll have it on the news.
Out over the place.
Super.
Thank you.
Okay. So is there, Mary, what?
Are you going to do this, Mark? You're presenting that package.
To Darcy as a
Oh,
welcome.
and if you want me to do,
Oh, this package.
yeah, that package, that's not for you. But do you want me to do the introduction or do you want to?
You go right ahead.
Okay, well, I'll just say, yeah,
Yeah.
come up and
Great.
we'll have a photo break.
Yeah.
Yeah, Betsy, do you have a camera? Oh, great. Well, I attended the introduction of the mayor, the manager, and they gave him a flak jacket. And I thought, well, okay, I get it. And so I went to look for a flak jacket for you and way beyond our budget. And then I went to look for a pair of dark glasses because call them flak jackets. And those were way above our budget. So this is a small token of our town's appreciation of your coming to be with us. And open it. Yeah, because. Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, I want to be in on this.
Yeah, we should all be there. You are welcome to say a few words.
Oh, there we go. Thank you. So yes, I'm really honored and I won't.
Closer to the mic, though, as you'll learn, you have to be right up on the mic.
Okay.
Have to eat the mic, eat the mic.
Eat it. Yes. Okay. I'm deeply honored, and humbled to have this opportunity. Such a wonderful mayor, vice mayor, and council. As many of you know, I've been visiting this special town for years. And it always touched up in a very rural. And then I went to college in less of a rural area. And so it was a little shock. And so I in college and just really enjoy the open nature, the scenic beauty, the trails, hiking, a lot of my childhood. And many of us have great memories of our childhood. And I want to reiterate that.
And what college was that? That was Berkeley, right?
Just, yeah,
Yeah.
just down the road. Yeah. I am deeply committed to public service job, which was town camp counselor at 16. Through my years at Stanford and many other cities, I've always been public and that put down roots. And I'm really looking forward to supporting the council and giving your priorities, which are challenges, but also great opportunity. And also just serving. So I'm really large shoes and I will prioritize in my early days being very accessible to all of you. Not just the coffee, but I hope to get out into as many events as I can and to keep this town special and just make it better to come. So thank you very much.
Thank you. We really appreciate it. And that's a great sentiment.
Guessing this isn't.
No.
There are eggs though. if you wanna take-
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to. New starts, new
Oh,
starts.
wow.
See,
Be
it's,
cool.
yeah, be cool. That's what it's about. I don't know.
Now's the awkward moment where it doesn't actually.
Oh, wow. Okay. Protection.
Oh, okay, God. All right.
They're be
Oh.
cool. They're be cool sunglasses.
Okay. All right, protective goggles. Within our budget, yes.
The highest quality.
They're great. Thank you. Putting together my hiking kit. Now I have everything. I've 24/7 here. So these will go in that kit. Thank
Good.
you.
Thank you.
I can say that Darcy's already been to Alice, has walked from,
Ooh.
Yeah.
That's
Happy
great.
to get out and everyone have a.
Yep.
We have amazing scenic, beautiful trails here. So I'll always ask you if you want to be outside, get out and enjoy the scenic beauty here. And
I think you'll have some receptivity on that.
Yes,
So-
thank you so much.
Great. All right, welcome. Now is not a time for. Oh. Okay, we really need to speak into the mic. I think that's all we can do right now, troubleshoot it. Okay, we'll try and be deliberate about that. All right, moving on to the next agenda item, which is an update of our refined temp. My understanding is this is something that staff put together to remind us what we asked them to do halfway through the year and at the end of the year, and this is their report. So Mark, are you presenting?
This is, when we did our refined meeting back in March, we said we would have some items that we would have finished by the June 30th. And then some items that we'd have finished in December. And so this is an update of what we did do up through June 30th. And we basically accomplished a lot of those And then where are we with the things that we're working? So that's what is in front of you. We're happy to go through any of them in any greater detail. It was in the packet. Again, I thank the council for working with us to achieve these items and for the staff for all their support and making. And I think it's a pretty good list for 30th and for the December 31st. So just wanted that to be here
Mhm.
and didn't want to gloss over it. So, in front of you, no big presentation. I think it speaks for itself.
Okay,
It really helps when the council will say, these are the things that are really important to us. Even though I know new important things come up, but this gives us focus. So thank you.
thank you. And thanks for the update. Let's bring it for any questions. Does anyone have questions? I'm not seeing anyone.
I guess I just have one simple one. On the new project to implement the applicant portal, have you been able to involve any applicants? If evaluate, are you at that stage yet where you can actually evaluate the inner, or at least some of maybe the architects in town, study that just, I mean, are we at that point yet? Or
So I appreciate the suggestion and that applicant portal at all. So we want to at first get a baseline implement. Staff can at least. And I agree with you, our partners and architects, et cetera, will how their experience.
Okay, any other questions? Mary?
Just, the thing I hear the most complaint about is conflicting requirements from consultants. So that somebody says they have to do this, and somebody says the sewer has been approved, and somebody says it's not been approved or it hasn't even come through. How are we directing ourselves?
You want to
That
speak into the
problem.
mic? Let's
Yeah,
speak.
I'm talking right into the mic.
Okay.
That feedback's very helpful for us as well. That in addition to the applicant portal, sort of based on what you're sharing with me, we're looking to update the website as well. So there's less confusion for people when they're trying to obtain a permit. Does that answer?
Yes, yes, just so we put that on the,
Absolutely.
because it's causes a lot of resentment.
I understand. Thank you.
Okay, Craig, do you have any questions? Just questions right now. Okay. In that case, we'll go to, I have no questions. We'll go to public comment. I am not seeing any hands raised and I'm not seeing any hands raised online. So we can bring it back for discussion. And Craig, it sounded like you might have some comments, so go ahead.
Just the major comment I wanted to make is we put together these priorities, sort of, strategies as we call them. And I feel like we're making progress. It's commenting on Mark's interim time here that I'm very pleased that there's a number of significant items on this list that are done. Not just in flight, but are done. And obviously we still have more to do, but this is what I was looking for. I was looking for steady progress through important things that we need to do as a town government. So I'm pleased with this report. We still have a lot of work to go to here, but we have Darcy here now. Darcy knows what her marching orders are. So again, this is a update.
Great. Mary, do you have a comment?
I guess I see a lot of reliance on urban planning partners, and I just want to kind of highlight that and say we're watching those expenses.
And that'll be part of a subsequent agenda item as well. So, Okay, Rebecca, comments?
I guess my comment is that I'm just higher level. I'm very impressed with how much the staff has gotten achieved. I really appreciate that. And I'm thrilled that you are working to implement, to finish implementing InterGov in the applicant portal, because I think when they want to understand where their project is, what step it's in. And I think it will also reduce tremendously the staff, maybe take a load off of Gabe's shoulders if, applicants have another way to get their questions answered. I'm thrilled. Otherwise, yeah, I really like this format where we have our strategies and requests and the detail about how it's being moved forward. And I would get getting an update. I'd love to get an update where things are going if that's possible. So that's it.
Yeah. We've come a long way based on this, and I don't like to create reports for the sake of it, but honestly, demonstrating to the community how much has been achieved by the staff is really important and meaningful, especially in the next year. I think it's going to be important. I don't know that monthly is ticking things off than creating the report, but let's have that discussion and because we need the public to understand that things are and that the priorities are being achieved. So not for discussion tonight, but I'd love to understand your perspective on what's a reasonable interval. All right, there's no action on this, right?
I didn't
Catherine?
get a chance to say,
Oh,
super impressive,
Yeah.
super impressive.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sorry, Mary, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Not at all. You didn't.
It looks like that's the report.
Okay, can I have a motion to accept the report?
So moved.
I second it.
All right, all in favor? Aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, the next agenda item is the review and discussion of the Finance Committee pro-con list on revenue enhancement options. And I know the staff has a report. I will say this pro-con list has come from the Finance Committee, so if people want to look prior discussions, if you are so inclined. This has been a reflection of a ton of work, and it's not the only time we're going to be discussing this. So this is to start a process of understanding and evaluation, and I'll turn it over to, I think it's, Corey to present. Thank you.
So just to kind of provide some context and direction where we want this discussion to go, just want to gauge the preliminary reactions from and where should staff and the subcommittee focus their time in regards to our challenges that we
Get
may
close
face.
to the mic. Thanks, Tony.
Okay.
Yeah, there it goes. Can hear it.
And so, and also where should staff and the subcommittee over the next year and a half, because November 26th is fast approaching, but we actually should have everything in place by July to be safe. And so the next steps, so tonight you're gonna have a preliminary discussion on topics for staff and the subcommittee will take the information from the consultants, Godby and Lou, to discuss next steps and perform additional. And then staff and subcommittee will return to council to vote on focused items for polling at a future meeting. So tonight is just going to be a conversation based on what the finance committee has prepared. This is the second time they've put together a list, and they have had robust conversation at several finance committee meetings about several of these items. So to look at some of the revenue options, there's one option is status quo, where we do nothing, just remain the same. Another option is parcel tax, the charter city plus real estate transfer tax, annex Ladera, commercial area, or annex Ladera commercial and residential area, combine with Woodside, unincorporate and become a special district, or modify the utility users tax. The finance committee did split up into several, research these items, made several presentations. So tonight, we're just gonna have a conversation with the council just to gauge where they are with, because we've had these conversations for almost a year. And so we just need to have some direction from council.
Okay, thank you. And just to put the bigger picture in mind, the town is this extensive work product came about from our recognition. We've got to seriously consider revenue enhancements, costs, and great about past sessions highlighting what those are. So tonight's the first time we've seen everything as a table laid out in terms of potential revenue enhancement options. So that being said, we can go to questions that the council has for staff. Craig, do you want to get started?
I have sort of a question / want to make sure we get it clarified. Tony, could you clarify status quo isn't things just are, we don't change the taxing policy. The
consequences are our expenditures will overrun our revenues. And at some point, we will have to slash services in order to maintain some type of reserve. And it is not the ideal approach, but it's the one cost is the sheriff's cost is pretty much going to dwarf any revenue increases that we're going to see over the next couple of years. It would make, if we stay status quo, then it either unincorporate or become a special district, or we look at alternative service measures, service delivery methods with the town, that the town would have to look at either merging with Woodside or looking at other areas to provide service. But it would gut the character of the town if we do not do anything.
Right, and that was my question. Is the status quo, things as they are, things are going downhill relatively fast. So can you speak roughly to if we did nothing, then, our, sort of available resources would go down by 25%, 50%? And I'm just looking for a rough number so that people understand. That this is a significant decrease.
Yes, it would be within the next 2 to 3 years. We're looking at 2 million in cuts. And that would pretty much wipe out our reserve.
Right. And that's
so it's not 2%, it's almost 100%.
Yeah. And that's 2 million on 8 million.
Yeah.
For people who don't follow, which is 25% at best.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Mary, do you have questions? Speak into the mic.
Yeah, no, they don't need to hear my, okay. Here. Well, thank you. This is beautifully laid out and extremely helpful. And I think you got almost everything on there that I had hoped would be on there.
Mm-hmm.
The one thing I didn't see, which you and I have talked about, and maybe it never got to the possibility of a fee for a trail use, for trail maintenance and capital improvement per square foot building charge. And you said that could be something that could be done without bringing it to vote.
Well,
And I happen to have the documents from Los Altos Hills, who has such a thing, and who has had it before in a
right.
long time, and just moving to increase it to $5 a square.
Yeah, that would be a fee that would be adopted with the schedule.
Right,
The council would have to adopt that.
okay.
Can you explain that though for the rest? What is proposal?
It's not a proposal yet. It's Los Altos Hills for trail maintenance and capital improvement. And well, for them, it's been in place for years, and they just have increased the rate. that
What
they
is
do it.
the
Is
fee?
it an impact fee?
It's an impact fee.
It's
for
an
the-
impact fee.
right.
So we are currently doing an nexus study to determine that.
And is it on the Nexus study?
We can have the consultants look at that.
Okay, I'll send you this.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But also to be clear, you're not suggesting that this is going to, like, these are meant to be answers to filling in our budget shortfall. The idea of a trail fee would help with the trail costs, but are nowhere close to coming up with 2 million.
No.
Yeah, okay. so I
No,
just-
no, we need to do something, and of course, I'm very enthusiastic about this moving forward.
Okay, great. Rebecca, questions?
I know that it's a finance committee that put this. Is there a reason why they didn't consider sales tax?
It goes to the previous question about trails maintenance is even if we did it at 0.5%, it would not generate a significant amount to deal with the shortfall. And then it would have to be something done in conjunction with another tax.
Right. But I mean,
Yeah, because we
I view that we're-
really do not have a lot.
but my understanding based on one of the candidates, sales tax would also hit like automobiles, things that people bought, large items that they bought outside of the town. But we
Yes,
would
it-
get a piece of the action. but-
Yes, and I also raised that during our town halls, that I did have the transaction and use tax option, that, yes.
What was that?
It would depend upon car sales. And, but again, it's not going to be the max.
No, none of these are, but okay.
Okay, I have a handful of questions, because I think some of the phrasing here requires some back that I don't have. So on the parcel tax line, normally 2/3 of majority since parcel taxes are.
Mhm.
So what would an example of the special earmarked tax be if we imposed a parcel tax?
Well, a parcel tax, I don't want to say in general, but a parcel tax is a special tax.
Yeah. Oh, it is by
Yeah,
definition.
by definition.
Okay, no
However,
problem.
they've put some language in that could be simple majority if it was a citizen's initiative.
Okay,
So but the way, Prop 13 goes back to Prop 13, parcel taxes are special taxes. They do require 2/3 majority. And sometimes they are put in place for a special purpose. So like with the school districts
Okay.
and, you know, it's rare for a town or a city to have a parcel tax for general fund operations.
rare but not impossible.
Rare, but not impossible.
Okay, thank you. The next one, the unincorporate, if you go all the way over to the right-hand line, state use as last resort, given loss of identity. Is that like a policy from the state? Like how do we know what the state thinks?
Well, there has not been a disincorporation since 1972.
Okay,
So it's not, I mean, to unincorporate, would require LAFCO, would require the county. So, I mean, there's a lot of machinations before that even happened.
yeah, it's just, I found the phrase is if the state views it as a last resort, that sounds like it's come quote policy.
Well, it could also be a little editorializing by.
Okay,
some of the finance
I'll
members.
just not take that too literally. The last line, the modifying
Yes.
There's a switching of phrasing from the left to the right hand. One is reallocate and the other is restructuring.
Mhm.
And so I want to understand what the difference is. I'm sure there's a nuance there that I might be missing. If we added the internet tax, is that a restructuring or like reallocation means take the revenues and put them in different.
Yeah, so
Okay.
the reallocation is the 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 thought is reallocating the UUT in the open space from phone and energy
Okay.
and redirecting that to the general fund.
Mm-hmm.
But then they've also said we could also include, which would be a new tax or a new UUT on internet.
Mhm.
But then restructuring would be how the model for reallocating from open space to general fund and plus adding internet.
Okay. So it's
Yeah.
looking at the components that feed in as well as where it goes.
Right. And these would all require a new tax, a new UUT, general tax,
Mm-hmm.
reallocating open space, general fund would 2/3 because that's a special.
Okay. Thank you.
Could I follow up on that?
Yeah,
And,
please.
and if the 5.5 general fund was increased to 7.5 just by itself, what would that require?
That would, an increase is in a general tax, so that would still be 50 plus one.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Any other questions before we move to public comment? No? Okay. Let's move to public comment. People in the schoolhouse, Karenowski, please come up to the podium and speak closely to the mic.
Yeah, thank you. This has been great. As you all know, we own 1.2 acres of parking, Rosati's Field or the Alpine Inn, and probably almost another acre over at Ford Field. So that's a lot of parking, and parking can be a nice source of revenue. I know that we're reviewing the contract right now through the study. So one question I have is, when are we going to learn more about that? As well as, should we consider perhaps for the parking revenue? I don't know exactly what that means, if it's meters charge, but could that be a good revenue source for us? And the other question sort of ties to what, in terms of the sales tax, I realize that it's de minimis, but why wouldn't we want to layer that on? You know, every little bit could add up. So, and then the last thing is I think there's going to be a new sheriff. And I wonder how much of our increases have been tied to this maybe outgoing sheriff, and could there be a good possibility that we can do? Thank you.
All right. Also in the schoolhouse, I think Betsy will take all the comments makes sense to address or what the council wants to address.
Thank you, staff, for an excellent grid, very concise. And this is a point of clarification. I commend you for pointing out the LAFCO process, 3 of the items, but I noticed that the annexation of Badera area or the commercial and residential area was not, you did not make a note of the LAFCO participation there. My personal experience in Napa, they would be. Yeah, they would be. Okay, so that's all my questions for right now. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else in the schoolhouse? I'm not seeing anyone, so we'll go to Rita comment.
Hi. Hi, thank you for taking my comment. I know that this presentation comes from the Finance Committee, but I would like to hear an update on the year-end financials that are outstanding and the audits, because it's just really hard for me to listen to ways that the residents can then pay more money when we have these unfinished financial items on the table that should be on everybody's minds. I know that they're not forgotten, but it's just hard for me to hear about what the residents can now pay because we're in the hole, because we don't have our financials in order. And I'd also like to mention something about the sheriff's contract and, things that we were getting before and not, they have not been following through, and with the robbery last week and, solicitors without permits and constant calls and people not showing up to follow up. I'm talking about from the sheriff's department. I really hope that we're getting some money back from them because who's talking to them? Because we're not getting what we're paying for. So it's really hard to listen about increases, money that we have to pay them for work that is not being done. Thank you.
Thank you. Christy C has her hand. Go ahead, Chris.
Thank you. I was just wanting to know when our revenue on our land that we own, when we rent it out, these contracts are 10 years old. And in talking to Woodside, they redo their contracts every year. And I don't understand why we are not increasing our land value in our rental contracts and rewriting our contracts annually. I'd like to hear some discussion on that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Caroline Bertongen, go ahead, please.
Thank you. Caroline Vertongen, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
I concur with everything that the fellow residents have said. This town council ran on accountability and transparency. We have tried to follow up and see that, and we have not seen it. So I encourage you to show us more. We're willing to help you, but there has to be a positive collaboration, and we have not seen that. So please provide your efforts and show us that you're willing to make some positive results. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right. Tony, I don't know if there's items there that you want to aid, or we can let us ask you them. But if you want to clear any of those out of the, feel free.
I'll defer to council.
Okay, thank you. All right, back to council for discussion. Rebecca, do you want to go first?
So personally, I would eliminate combining with Woodside, though I do think unincorporating, obviously that would be really tragic. Unincorporating becoming a special district, I don't see that good either. I think in the end, we are going to need to layer several different. I don't think we're going to be able to depend on one. I would like to get just quickly before I continue my comments, when you said $2 million is going to be eventually, that's the current sort of structural deficit that might hit. Is that the number that you're trying to have us find with these revenue enhancements?
No, I'm looking for between 1 to 1.5 million.
Okay.
That'll absorb any cost increases and also provide more funding to CIP projects and hire more staff.
Okay, so 1 to 1.5 is, so maybe up the parcel tax might work for that. Obviously, status quo is not.
Right.
So we're in my mind, we're sort of left with looking at the parcel tax, the charter city with the real estate transfer tax, and possibly the sales tax layered in there too. Annexing the Ladera commercial district. I don't think it's beneficial to us to consider their dramatically. And then modifying the utility users. To me, those are the four most workable ones. Um, uh, um, I don't, I guess some questions I have about it is if forward with based on the analysis from the finance committee subcommittee that worked on this, they don't anticipate it raising very much money, but I do have to wonder where they came. Part of the commercial district is a huge medical facility that's a can't be taxed. I don't know. So mainly it would be bikinis, I guess. The question I have there, if we were to kind of recommend that we continue to look into that, is how many owners are there, and have we talked to them? And then have we as a council and staff defined what the benefits to them, what their value proposition would be? So that I think will require quite a bit of effort on our part, not least of which will be resolving a lot of the efficiency problems within the building, because that would be the commercial district's would probably be their biggest issue with working with the town, that they would get their benefits being able to go right here instead of having to go over to Redwood. We would have to figure out how to make it more efficient for them to be able to make changes to their buildings or what have you. Under the parcel tax, it does hit every single person in town. That's the way they're designed. I don't know if seniors would be able to opt out of that or not. But I think given our town and how small we are and how committed we've been in the past for parcel taxes for the schools and how much we are, if we were to continue to move along with the idea of a parcel tax, I would want it to be for the general fund as opposed to special, instead of a special parcel tax. And I would want it to be a citizen initiative. It kind of, some of the next steps for that would be to try to identify I think the Charter City Light, notwithstanding what happened with in November, I think there is a good, I don't think it's that complicated to do if it's Charter City Light. We wouldn't be redoing all our laws, or really would give us a lot more flexibility. And the benefit for me for the transfer tax is that it really only hits people who have essentially died. So let's be honest, those are those are the homes that are changing hands likely because I don't have I think it's a good way to recoup a lot of the money. These homes that have not been paying very much in property taxes for 50 years. So I would be in favor of pursuing that some more to find out more what's involved. And I would just layer in the sales tax as a thing to explore there as well, because I assume that Charter City. Let's see. And then modify the utility users tax. So I kind of have to look in terms of tax. I think in general, the public expects us to spend the money that we are taxing. And the reality is our open space fund is not spending their money, and they're generating about almost $1 million a year from tax, from the interest on the fund. So it's grown to, I don't know, maybe 11 million or some such money, and we're not using it. We have a few pipeline right now to use part of it. But in reality, we've got more money than we're able to use. I would consider reallocating that 2% over to the general fund. And again, that would require the 2/3 majority. So it would be to the town to determine whether or not they felt that was important or not, I know we are very in favor of open space. We've protected an enormous amount of open space, and it's kind of what our community was formed to do, but I'm not sure that there are too many other properties that we can spend that money on any. You know, with the pipeline projects that are there now, which sound, that will certainly use a chunk of that money, hopefully not too much of it, but I think that would be great uses of the money. It's still going to leave a big chunk of change that, will continue to grow, will continue to tax our residents for, while we're suffering as a town in general, and whether or not we're going to be able to stay incorporated. I think it's time to kind of rethink a little bit on what we tax our residents for and give them the opportunity. Whether staying an incorporated town is more important than continuing to accumulate, millions of dollars for open space and not spending them. That's kind of my view, and I agree with everybody, but I think we do that UUT is it's time to kind of rethink it a little bit. And if the decision is not to reallocate, then possibly raising it by 1%. We may need to do that. Again, layering on. I think we're just going to need to layer, to be honest. I don't think we're going to be able to depend on one thing, which makes it more complex for sure to move forward and to promote it to the community. But I think layering it on so we don't hit any one person too hard, I think that's kind of where we're going to need to do.
Thank you. Mary, comments?
I agree with Rebecca about the need for looking at each. I just responding right away to the modified utility tax. Things have changed when reality has changed in space, because the big open spaces that we were saving this money for 35 years have been saved without using that money. So we're talking about Hawthorns and Mirador. So there is a slight, although I wouldn't necessarily have gone this way with 2 years ago, I now feel a little bit more like there is some wiggle room with the utility user tax. From those of us who are profound supporters of unincorporated and becoming a special district is sort of it seems to have worked really well with Ferlita unincorporated in a special district. They've been able to maintain a certain amount of autonomy without a lot of burden. I don't think it's totally out of the, but it would be last on my list at this point. Combining with Woodside, I personally don't think it's off the table. A full out and out merger is probably off the table, but having it be a clear alliance is a lot different from what we've sort of been cultivating in the last 25 years. I think an alliance could be strengthening and should be really present. There's been entirely too much polarization between the communities when we obviously have the same interests in mind. And, you should know that obviously this is something that I brought forward. Duplication, I was told the ideal size for a town is 8,000. I get it. Well, we're not there yet, but we would be if we had. And it's not for us to motivate Woodside. It's for us to make and that we can consider these possibilities without losing our boat character values. I think there are more commonalities than we think. There are some real differences in the way the governance works. Annexing Ladera, again, I'd say yes. might help them or might not, depending on how. And I'm all for looking into the charter city and trying to do our best to make happen in November with the real estate transfer tax, the sales tax, and the fee analysis layering in there to increase our ability to raise money. Parcel tax, I'm all for too. So that's my summary, and thank you. I love the way this and the way it makes us think out of the box.
Thank you. Craig, comments?
Yes.
Keeping it simple.
Yeah, keeping it, staying on the simple. So first of all, I wanted to remind everyone, the purpose of tonight is this is only preliminary. We're not making decisions. It's to give the subcommittee some input so we can start talking to the polling firm about what the issues might be and research, come back to the council, decide what we're actually going to poll. We've got the ability to poll for two things. So that's from the polling firm. So, you know, when this comes back, we're going to have to narrow this sort of, I'll say laundry list, but this long list to two things that we're going to poll, which doesn't mean we can't do more, but we're only going to get. So I just want to remind people that that's the goal for tonight is, you know, where do we want further research? And I really don't want the answer to be just research everything, because that just means we'll, you know, kind of all of them. So I will discuss which ones I think are the most. In terms of, Rita asked about audits, I'm stick to that. Tony, I think at the August 27th, are you going to have an audit schedule? I know you've been working on it, so I know that you've got idea. Is there a time when you can sort of say, you know, this is roughly what this run?
It's September.
September, sorry. So September 10th, maybe?
I'm planning on bringing the 21-20 in September. And then if that happens, then there's goals
right
for the next 3 fiscal years. But ultimately, the plan will be to have 24-25 done by September 2026.
Right. So I know you've got a plan, and I think maybe in September that would be good, just to say, you know, subject to the auditors and some other stuff, this is what.
Yeah.
And I'm not asking for it tonight. I know you're working. That this isn't being ignored. You got a plan.
Oh, no, it's number one on my,
100%.
but then there's also fee schedule and then mid-year budget. And so, yeah.
So then the next thing I wanted to, and one thing I would caution is the more layering you do of taxes, the more likely you're going to get some or all of them. So, you know, it's one thing to layer like, oh, well, we could do this, you know, like working with Woodside to maybe sort of do some combined expenses. That's not a tax, and maybe we definitely layer. But I think the idea of, oh, we're going to do a sales tax and we'll do that, and you have to go get two. That seems to me like a recipe for failure, that, you know, maybe you get 1 out of 3, or maybe you get 0. So I would be very careful about leaning too much into a layered approach. You know, if we find like that there are 2 things and those together do it, but a lot of these just don't generate enough to make what I see as the risk of putting them on and potentially lose. So I do think we want to be careful. With regard to the special district, it didn't say it here, but one thing I would remind people is if we become a special district, we basically lose the general plan. But just to be super clear, that's really the consequence, is the general plan as we know it will be gone. Like Ladera doesn't have a general plan. They're subject to the wind. And sure, it works okay for them, but to me, what makes Portola Valley special is we have this guiding document, and it's made a difference to how special this town is. And I just don't want people to forget, because it's take check, we'll get the good stuff, except we won't get the good stuff. We'll lose the plan, which to me is sort of lose truly the heart of Portola. The next thing I wanted to comment on was this citizens initiative, 50%. That's an interesting potential option, but I would caution that on the same ballot in November, the Jarvis guys, these are the Prop 13 guys, are putting on something initiatives that allow for 50% taxes. And so if that were to pass at the same time, I don't remember the exact details, but I think you get like a 2-year. So if we had something that passed with 50, say 53%, we would get it for 2 years and then it would be no if this Jarvis passes this. So I really think we should be focused on what's it going to take to get 2/3. Like, you know, and then if it turns out these other things work out, great. But I think the council needs as a 2/3 issue and not a 50%. And then the next one is on the youth. I'm very much in favor of re-examining youth in the broad sense of, you know, where's our money and where are our special funds. I would caution you that right now it's sort of 5 and 2, and the 5 is already accounted for. So we're not going to get that 5. You don't get to reallocate them. It's already in the general fund to something that's somehow magically going to make it better. So then it gets down to it's the 2%, it's open space, and that's not necessary. Now, if we start looking at defunding the special fund or something else, maybe that's worth looking at. I think Mary's point's a good one that many of the large things that Mirador is one of now deeply in, and we got Hawthorne's and Mid-Penn's deeply in there. So it is a different landscape than when I basically wrote a, editorial for the Almanac saying how special open space was for Portola Valley and how we needed to vote for it, and we got it through with 2/3. I do believe that 2/3. Yeah. I do believe that open space is a fundamental character of Portola Valley. And it's part of the reason we have this is it's a statement of our value. So I don't want to lose that statement of value. It may be appropriate to rethink about and rejuggle, but I want to keep those values in place. Okay, so that's my sort of intro. So then the 4 that I look at that I think that are worth further investigation are the parcel tax, the real estate transfer tax, which is, Charter City Light, and to look at, are there other things within Charter City Light that we could potentially do? I don't understand, if there's a layering opportunity there, and I think that's worth figuring out if there's more there or whether that's just another vote. So I think we'd want to find that out. I think looking at the annexation of the district is while I'm not sure what the value to Ladera is, or even to us, other than, potential sales tax, but I think it's worth so I would put that on my list. And then, like I said, I would put the UUT larger, not just, do we reallocate the 2%, but the larger question, have these special, is this the right thing for us? So those are my 4 that I would suggest that the subcommittee spend more time and bring back to the council more detail. Thank you.
Okay. The user fee and updated fees, rough timeline for when we're going to hear about the study and when think about a timeline. No commitments, but
Yeah, it was pushed back with the audits and the budget.
Yeah.
But we're targeting for October.
October.
But if there's any other delay, then it'll probably be December, January.
Okay. And then once you get that study, what's the time differential between getting the study results, the
There's a
proposal?
60-day notification.
60 days.
So,
Got it.
yeah.
Okay.
So, realistically, like beginning of next year would probably be.
Yep. And that in turn, is that related the contracts we have in place for renting property? Like, what's the relationship of the
Yes,
user?
I did have conversations with the space use valuations that
Okay.
could come into play in regards to the use of the parking lot.
And, okay. And then looking at charging for don't cur- that would be the same time frame if that, like, is it related? Study,
Well, if we wanted to install parking meters, I think we'd have
yeah,
to study
I,
on that.
but, and I don't know what we currently, but say there's a piece of Dorothy Ford parking that we don't charge for that we want. I'm assuming whether we or not we have meters,
Mhm.
this study would impact what we can do for that. Okay, so the sequence is get the user fee study, get the user fee proposals. In that kind of process, we'll look at what we should be charging for that we're not, and what are we undercharging?
Right.
And that we need to correct. Okay, thank you. That's helpful. That's separate income stream timing.
Mhm.
All right. I think those were my questions derived from the public questions. So then going to priorities and giving you feedback. I want to remind people that what we're really doing is giving staff direction on where to put their emphasis, their primary effort, and that nothing we're saying today binds them or us. That really, if we decide to go and do something as far as a vote from the public, it's not us that's going to determine what needs. We're going to recommend best judgment what we think can work. But at the end of the day, the public is going to vote where it's going to go. So let's be clear. We can't be normative about that. We can supportive. We can decide what's concerns the public's going to have and support, the best case for whatever initiatives we propose. But we have to not forget that we can't force the public here and the vote. So I would put your efforts into the polling. We could poll two. And so a couple of the themes that the fellow commissioners have are, I do agree with keeping it simpler. You can't go to the public with anything terribly tortured and and expect anything other than a really complicated. So something that's going to move the dial and be simple would be priority, and something that's nuanced and difficult, we can always layer later. But what we go out and ask the public for is for me to move the dial and be something that's relatively straightforward uh, out of the gate. That would be my viewpoint. And so I'm not in a greatly different place than my would prioritize. I would prioritize charter city plus real estate transfer tax and look at the utility user tax. The others I would not prioritize personally, because I think those are going to be more in line with something as long as we have financial integrity and are transparent. We heard that tonight, public, for getting their trust, and getting their vote means getting their trust first. And we have to do that. I think we're all committed to it, but it gets really, and so it's going to be really hard to keep up to a level that's, can I explain this in about 3 cents? I can't, we're not, we got to really pressure test what our message and what our support for that approach is. And other different comments that I wrote down. I do prefer approaches that allow us to retain, if at all possible, and I believe it's possible. The Citizens Initiative, thank you, Craig, for bringing that up. You never know if things are going to be retroactive or proactive, how they're going to. So I guess my takeaway is we shouldn't bet that a 51 more than 50% vote will be required here, and we should plan for a heavier lift. The UUT, I think the open space issues are more common. It does feel like all the open space is gone, but as we'll hear later, we were going to get an appraisal on the Fogarty property and whether we want to proceed, to acquire that for open space purpose has yet to be determined. And so I also question that 2% being reallocated. The public might not agree with that, and you might end up with 5.5% period. Like I don't know how to stage that. We're going to keep our 5.5% plus something else, which I think maybe we have to trade off that that is a tax of a different nature. But I think that needs more thought than I have been able to put to it. I think it is a more subtle point. I do think the internet, adding the internet into that might be an interesting thing. I'd be curious to see that would be.
Internet.
And annexation of Ladera to me is in the complicated side of things. You're going to increase costs. We're already struggling with infrastructure we can't afford to build out to support our housing element commitments. Like these are tangled webs, and I don't think we're going to have visibility on what infrastructure how our costs will be supportive. It can be done, but I don't know that it can be done and clearly messaged in the time. So that's why I prioritize parcel tax, charter city light plus real estate tax and modifying the utility tax in some way. All right, any other direction or questions?
Can I ask a question?
Well, here, one of the possibilities on the bottom for modifying the utility users chances broadening to include internet. It's a small amount, but if it's easy to do, maybe that's worth it. If it complicates messaging for $100,000,
If we could possibly indicate that we were going to improve internet, it would be awfully nice. People would vote for it, I tell you.
That's a fair point. But yeah, that's where I was going. Okay, unless there's any need to ask for more direction, I think we're done with that.
You want to clarify anything?
Yes, we can. Let's be back here 9:08. We're missing Mary. Okay, we have to wait for Mary. Because the next item, okay, we're here. So let's call the meeting to order again. Do you need to start the recording? It started already. Thank you. All right. The next item on the agenda is I want to make sure it's correct. 7B, well, that's what I'm looking for. There's my stuff. Here we go. The approve urban planning partners contract for the housing element amendment. So Terrence, I believe you're leading this discussion presentation.
Yes,
Okay.
Madam Mayor.
I think you need to speak very close to.
Yeah.
Just because we can't hear you echo, which means.
Thank you. I'll try to be close to swallowing the microphone. So, I just want to start with what this is not. This is not to change. This is to hire a contract to change the general plan. So I just wanted to be very clear about that. What is in front of the town. When Mark and I talked to the HCD, Housing and Community Development for the state, as part of our sort of plea to have the housing element recertified, we talked openly about the fact that the community didn't have much support for development of Dorothy Ford Park, and that we intended to go back amend the housing, amend our housing element to replace those sites, to replace that site with other sites. The town has had a significant work to locate to other sites, and most recently, the ad hoc committee for site evaluation committee identified 4 properties to consider. But again, what's proposed is to study and propose to amend it, not to, it doesn't actually change any particular property at this point. It has to come to the town council and the planning commission first. Want to be clear about that. But there were 4 sites that the town council directed staff to take a look at further. However, I personally, my professional opinion is the Hawthorne's portion, which was discussed, is on a longer time frame and also a fairly. So I do think that the idea of building affordable housing in the mansion at the historic Hawthorne's section probably shouldn't be analyzed at this point. And I may be happy to receive direction otherwise, but that is my opinion, trying to maximize our, and in addition, because of the historic element, it would increase the cost of this effort quite a bit, because they'd have to bring a whole historic consultant on board. So however, so I think everybody understands the background. There's a 2.4 acre portion of Dorothy Ford Park that was indicated as high density housing in the housing element, and with 50 units of very low income units identified. So the goal is to hire urban planning partners, and urban planning partners did the work on the original general plan update. They have all the mapping, they have background. It would slow our, if we were to use a different firm, it would slow our process down dramatically, and frankly, it would increase cost because we're reinventing the wheel. So the staff recommends that we enter into contract with urban planning partners to do the housing element update. Housing element amendment. This amendment would include community interaction. It would include neighbor notification. It would include an open house to have the community engaged in this process. And most importantly, from trying to move this forward, the replacement of Dorothy Ford Park would happen simultaneously with the addition of the new units, and also be very critical that the state would be our partners. Mark and I both promised the state that this would be the case. We would treat them as a partner in this process. We'd let them be engaged in the process, and they seem to be very interested in that opportunity. So we would do this very above board, with very, very transparent, but in doing so, we'd be able to preserve Dorothy Ford Park and bring forward other sites. The other sites that the ad hoc committee identified has a lot of potential. In fact, in some ways, the potential is much greater than the Dorothy Ford site, because you've actually got property owners that are interested in doing the housing units. So staff is recommending that you approve this contract. The contract, by the way, there's a typo in the staff report, but not in the contract itself or in the attachments, but the actual cost is $62,270. There's a typo that in the staff report. The town attorney indicated that that typo doesn't require a renoticing. Maybe she can comment on that if you need to. As I talked about, there's a process and the detailed work scope laid out by urban planning partners, and staff will need to, whether it's me or the future director or both of us, staff does need to manage this process very carefully. We need to, in order to keep this cost in line, we would need to work with the new town manager who fortunately has a lot of experience in these kinds of issues, and and move forward and really watch this project process carefully. So staff's recommending that you approve that, approve the contract. And by the way, it does follow the standard new form. If you have, at this point, I'd be happy to answer any questions you have. And again, recommending that we move forward on this quickly as possible.
Thank you. All right, starting off with questions for Terrence. Miriam, start with you. Do you have any?
I do. I'm interested in how you reached your conclusion about Hawthorne's. We're in the beginning of trying to set up a liaison with MROSD to actually approach that, and that they have a timeline much closer to. They have a certain amount of urgency on there. They're actually pushing.
Well, this is a question not of the barn or any other portion. This is the question of doing affordable housing in the mansion, which is a historic structure and needs significant work.
I respectfully submit that it's probably, that looking carefully at the easement and the conservation easement, you can see that not necessarily. I would question, I'm trying to get this back to a question, removing that, and would need to know very specifically why you think it's the.
I'm sorry,
My understanding, yeah.
I understand. I attended almost committee meetings, and I believe the discussion was the discussion for the housing site replacement was about adding housing in the mansion property. Maybe I was mistaken. All the same, of course, if the town council wants to include consideration of that site, we can go back to the consultant and get an amendment for the cost to do that. So I'd be looking for direction from the town council on that.
Thank you very much. Yeah, we can move it to discussion.
Yeah. Thank you. Rebecca, do you have questions?
Yeah. The new CEQA law that was passed, did that have an impact on the work that needs to be done? Does it impact anything with Willow Valley projects?
Not directly, because the town already has an environmental document that covers housing element type changes, and there is an assessment to make sure that that neg deck that was by the town council is still valid. However, sort of indirectly, it does help because it does it makes that determination easier. The new law that was sort of put in as a budget writer really does weaken, or not weaken, the wrong word, just streamline the process for building housing. So it makes it even more likely that the existing negative declaration would survive any challenge.
And could you explain a little bit more what vehicle miles traveled, what act work needs to?
Sure. CEQA now looks only at vehicle miles traveled as an act, so there has to be an assessment, modeling of how many vehicle miles are traveled as a part of any particular project, and whether it reaches a level of significance, whether it reaches threshold of increased vehicle miles traveled, and that's what it means. In this case, there would be an assessment to make sure that the vehicle miles traveled as estimated in the existing housing element negative declaration was consistent with the new projects.
Does CEQA require you to do mitigation then, based on the threshold?
Yes.
So,
And it was not.
and so how does that fit with AG's T requirements for new developments. Their transportation demand management. So that must be similar.
Yes, but you can require TDM on a project even not if it have an environmental impact,
Okay.
significant environmental impact.
And then can you address, the town approved a few years ago. How does that plan, oh, I guess I'm skipping ahead. Sorry. Let's see. So I guess the other question is, what expertise do we have in-house to do?
Well, it's a great question. And in fact, our internal staff is probably better at coordinating community outreach than a consultant would be. So in working with the consultant and trying to keep this cost down, a lot of that outreach direction and effort would be done by internal staff. But the expertise, the ability to do the mapping, do the legal changes in the housing element itself, this consultant has the expertise that staff simply doesn't have. And even to the extent that I have quite a bit of experience, I don't have the resources that time in order to accomplish this in the time frame that we'd like to do, like to accomplish.
So when you say you don't have the resources in terms of time, that's because you're limited to working 20 hours a week or
Yes.
such sort of,
And there's other things that have to keep moving.
and you're not able to increase your hours availability. Okay. Let's see. So in terms of scope of work that you worked out with the company or with Urban Planning Partners, I just had a question about, we talk about Village Square as being per acre.
The state requires for a zoning ordinance to be considered zoning district high density, and thus equivalent to a very low income unit or a low income unit. It has to be 20 to 23. And in fact, that's in our existing housing element. The idea is if they had a maximum of 20, it would always come short of that because it just would average out. So they want to, the state requires that there be a range of 20 to 23 so that they can actually achieve an average of 20.
So I thought we got punished because we were delayed with getting our housing element submitted and our zoning submitted. So then we had to make the minimum become maximum, or the maximum became the minimum. So before we had originally proposed, 18 to 20, and forced to go. So I'm wondering, do we really have to go to 23?
Yes, the state requires that in our existing housing element designates high density housing as being 20 to 23.
Even though we're creating a completely new, it's completely brand new zone that we don't have. We were still limited to making it 20 to 23 instead.
If we wanted to be considered to be a high density site, yes, we'd have to be 20.
I see. Okay. And then for the Christ Church, you're proposing sort of the same thing, a mix. Just wondering, is it because there's a church? Or, so it's nothing to do with them planning some kind of commercial operation. It's just that the church is considered commercial or mixed use.
Correct.
Okay. And then where did the farm worker housing idea come for Fogarty? Because I listened to a lot of the ad hoc committee things, and they looked into this and felt that perhaps there wasn't such a need for farm work, farms close. Rangers and CAL FIRE personnel who were up there, and other types of residents. So I'm just kind of wondering why we're focusing on farm worker housing as opposed to a broader broader clientele, if you will.
My analysis and research on this, I think that the Fogarty property could be a good farm worker housing site. However, this is really just the beginning of a study. So that is not necessarily something that is etched in any kind of stone. And it is the town council that will ultimately decide what kind of designation is placed on the property. I'm just providing my professional opinion about how we should approach.
And could you update us on what what success you've had with owners? Because I know my understanding is you have been speaking with Stanley Lowe, and where are we with discussing on what they're thinking?
Right. Well, I haven't had any I haven't had any direct contact with the Fogartys beyond the sessions, which Alice's, and had a conversation with the family. And also because there's an appraisal process going on, and didn't want to get involved in that. But I've had numerous meetings with I've had numerous phone calls and to Stanley Lowe, and he's actually interested in the project. He's developed a very conceptual plan, which he showed me, which finds a way to make the project work. He seems drawn and interested in doing it, and this effort would lead right into streamlining that process for him to make an application.
So I guess
Sorry.
on, oh, sorry.
And Christchurch, Mark and I have had conversations with them trying to streamline. They've actually told us, and Mark can correct if I'm wrong, but they've actually told us that they're actually making progress internally, and they don't really need any us at this point. We continue to work with them.
Okay. And in terms of the Village Square project, can you share it all, what he's thinking? You know, I know he wants to do some market rate.
I do want to make, we're not noticed to discuss each project. Maybe you can comment there, but I don't want to because we're going to have future conversations about each project, or an update from you on next steps on each area in a future meeting that we can
Thank you.
agendize.
I was about to attempt to say the same thing, but you said it better. Yes, it's very conceptual, and it's still private information.
Oh.
Not a submittal that's been provided it's not a submittal that's been provided to the city. We haven't analyzed it. So it's something that we would be pressing as a part of this effort if the town council approves the contract.
So the reason I'm asking the question is part of this contract involves feasibility, where urban planning partners would then go in and map out something for the property. So it seems that we're paying urban planning partners to do something Lowe is already engaged in doing. So I don't want to double us up on paying for expensive consultants when the applicant's actually involved. Advice with Christ. My understanding is they've developed some plans already in terms of feasibility for their projects. So how much overlap is there in terms of feasibility portion of this contract?
That's actually was a subject of some discussion with the consultant, and their work in that area has been significantly for the reasons that you just stated. You've got property owners and applicants that are already doing some of that feasibility work. There's nothing more feasible than a private property owner who actually is trying to bring forward a project. Much less analysis is necessary if it's their money they're putting up.
So what feasibility are they? The urban planning partners.
They will have to help sell. They're going to have to help convince the state that these projects are real. There's a language and a approach and some analysis that the state likes to see. If we're going to be replacing a site which is dedicated for high density housing with another one, the state is going to want to see a certain level of feasibility. However, the amount of effort involved is much less in this for the reasons you
I would think the state would be very happy to actually see their own plans, sites as opposed to the ones that we have. Just, it's sort of pie in the sky. So I'm glad to hear that you've reduced that amount of work with the contract, the consultant. Yeah, I guess those are my main,
Okay,
well, I guess I'm.
okay, Craig?
So I'll keep it. Does this contract get us to, if, for this, for our, what, 2,000, will we have a housing element, a housing element amendment?
Yes.
Okay. And then are you prioritizing, basically across you're proposing 3 projects?
Yes.
Or they're gonna, and I guess the question I'm asking is, we look at Fogarty still like Hawthorne's is a, so I'd certainly like to see the consultants work fast if they're gonna spend time and energy.
Absolutely. And it's also possible that in the early discussions and with direction from town council, we may make an adjustment at some. Nothing's written in stone. Those sites are listed because the ad hoc housing committee recommended in the town council. But as things proceed and we discuss with the state, it's entirely possible there'd be an adjustment, but staff would want to come back and check with town council over that.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I was looking for, that we prioritize, if we get the appraisal and this and that, and then we decide, okay, this haven't already spent.
Let's keep, that's a comment, and I'm happy for you to
Sorry. Yeah, no.
want to
thank you.
keep it moving.
So then my other question is
66.
So is Tony found for this?
66, by the way.
I thought it was 62, but whatever the number is.
They asked,
It's not 50. It was budgeted at 50
um,
and it's contracted at
62,
62.
with a contingency of additional.
Tony will have to do a budget amendment. This money will come from the affordable housing, can come from the affordable housing funds. So, that's I don't know if Tony went home already.
He's home. Hopefully he's home, but that's fine. That answers it. So we have it covered.
Correct.
Okay, great. Okay,
Okay.
perfect. Thank you.
This contract can be 100% paid out of the affordable housing.
Thank you. That's helpful to know. I just have a clarification. On page 73, it says town staff would lead public and you would closely coordinate with HC. Town staff will lead that coordination. That means it's between you and the consultant. It does not, and this is a question, does it mean that you would be substituting any process that normally would go through the planning commission?
No, absolutely not. This is work that would normally be done in this sitting by the consultant.
Yep.
The town staff is going to take a more of a leadership that than it's usually sort of you hand the keys to the consultant, but we want to keep a
Yeah.
fairly tight control.
So it is between you and the consultant. Here's how we're dividing. Thank you. That's my only question. So then we can go to questions or comments from the public. I see 2 hands. So Karen Askey, first.
Oh, wait a minute.
Well, as you guys probably know, I'm the ad hoc housing committee put a lot of work into it, and we do believe these sites are better alternatives to Dorothy Ford Park and open space. I think it's great that we're using the Affordable Housing Fund. I think will help us all sleep better. I do have one question, which is in our housing element, we have a deliverable, I think it's January of 2026 to send out RFQ for Ford, to build at Ford. And I noticed in the timeline, this, if everything went according to plan, we could get HCD approval of our revised So what is the impact to that RFQ? That's my only question. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll hear the other public comments and we let you decide if you want to engage on those. Betsy.
Thank you, Betsy
Morgan
Morgan
Taylor.
Taylor. Speaking now as the chair of, first of all, thank you, Terrence and staffing council for ushering this through to this point. I'm very enthusiastic about all that I've heard, and I just that the committee has at a very high level, not at a detailed level, but voiced their interest and approval in if we got to the point that we were able to successfully approach HCD and retrieve Ford, that were we then able to take the next step and find some way to create a durable conservation easement property, which, you know, I'm sure that our town attorney would have some ideas about, at least I hope so, that would be very valuable. The Open Space Fund would be available, you know, for some kind of a trade there. So that as we're looking at money savings here, that there are more liberal monies to be exchanged later in the process. Thank you for taking all this into consideration, and very good luck as you march forward.
Thank you. Caroline Van Tongen is online. I see no other hands. We'll have Caroline.
Can
Are
you hear me?
Now we can hear you.
Okay, great. So yes, I concur again with my fellow residents. I appreciate the comments from Karen and Betsy Morgantail. Unfortunately, I have no trust in urban planning. Every time we discuss our financial situation with Portola Valley, it's always about the sheriff's contract, but I think urban planning has actually has been part of our financial burden. We have spent, I believe, right now, over $1 million with them, and they have not successfully helped us. So I encourage town council to work together with our residents who are on the subcommittees and Mr. Grinnell, because I believe he has, he understands the values of our town. And yeah, that's why I would like to leave it, but I have no trust in urban planning. They have just accumulated so many taxpayers' money with no results. So that's my words. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, bringing it back for discussion, I will go ahead and ask Terrence to comment on the timing, because that will be a question that a lot of members of the public have. The timing for the RFP versus the zoning being completed or proposed by February. What's our risk and how?
Exactly. No, thank you. It's an excellent question. If by January, this process will have proceeded to an extent involving interactions with HCD, that we will be able to assess, whether or not, because remember, if we don't meet a deadline, it doesn't automatically mean our housing element becomes decertified. The state would warn us and threaten us with decertification, and we'd be in close contact with them. So the expectation is that this would be well established prior to that deadline coming up. Worst case scenario would be we'd have to issue that RFP in January, which is does not do anything binding on the town. So that's the worst case. If the state was really pushing back, the worst case, we'd have to actually send out an RFP, but an RFP doesn't mean you've made a selection or you've even decided to go forward. So again, I don't think that's likely because of the intense conversations that are needed with HCD in this regard. And I think it would be well along the way by that time, but that's sort of the worst scenario.
Okay, thank you. So coming back for comment, Craig, you want to?
I think my comment was mostly made during questions, apologies. But just the important thing to me is that we prioritize. There's still a lot of missing. Don't start, racking up a lot of hours. Still find out some pretty basic things. So that'd be my only request.
Mary?
My big request is around Hawthorns. I do want to, whether or not they're in the contract or not, I don't know how significant it is, but I do think it's significant from OSD's point of view that they seriously are considering the housing there. Makes a difference if we're actually looking at it from our side, our point of view. So it strengthens my discussions with them to have it at least on the contract. So that makes a big difference. It is really an ideal location from so many points of view. And I will just say that looking very closely at the conservation easement, it's the number of square feet of buildings. And if it's not practical to do renovations in the separate. So, and it's clearly not practical to do it in the historic buildings. But maybe looking at it, at least including it in the, makes a difference to me, whether we let them rack up a lot of, we don't need to do that until we continue to further the conversation. And these conversations about housing are so important with MRSD and Post because pointed out more than a third of our acres in town are under easement to open spaces or are owned openly by, and all of that is open space. So we're looking to our open space partners to partly solve these very small acreage problems that we have in terms of housing. So I would like to at least have it considered.
Okay. Any other comments? Rebecca, how about you?
Yeah, so I consider that we definitely of the sub-consult to handle the VMT stuff and the California Natural Diversity Database stuff. There's no question about that. And then I feel that Urban Planning Partners expertise quite a bit of this project. I'm very concerned about the amount of housing with a 10% contingency on top of that. We have a history partners and several of our other consultants where it would appear every 6 months, every 8 months, the staff was coming back with amendment, more money, more. So this consultant has not done a good job of estimating their actual hours. So in general, I do feel that we do need to sign some type of contract with them soon. However, my recommendation is that we push this off by 1 month. I think looking at the time scale, said that we're going to be in close contact HCD. I think we're less under the gun with the RFP issue. Definitely have a month wiggle room in here. And my main reasoning is that we have just hired a new who has extensive planning and building. And given all of my questions that I have on the scope of work, he has 100 more questions. So I would prefer that she can be given the opportunity to actually go through the contract, look at our general plan, look at our zoning amendments to see what actual work needs to be done and, you know, have her imprimatur on whether or not with, or not, because I feel that, some of this work could possibly be done in, some of it obviously can't. If that's what we definitely would need urban planning. We're not going to hire. Maybe we won't hire them for $62,000. Maybe we can look at it a little more closely. So I guess that's I just feel, given that we're having a change, that I would really like to have her evaluation of the contract first.
Okay. We should come back around for Mary's question. From the ad hoc housing committee and was under a very tight and they got done well. And I do not want to be the one to hold up progress on zoning. So I think we need forward. I have no doubt that the new town value and consulting on this, but I think she have a lot facing. And Terrence is well situated, given his history interacting with it, to be telling us his thoughts and I personally his judgment on that. So it's not at all that I don't want to be able to weigh in, but I just don't see that happening with and getting the zoning together to the degree that we can meet and the timeline and avoid, to the extent possible, an RFP. I think it's highly dangerous for us to rely on HCD's goodwill, not to impose a, or to rescind our certification. We've seen that, thought we were okay and we weren't. And I really don't want to plan on that. To do that on a number of levels. So I personally would move forward. Glad to hear take money out of the Affordable Housing Fund, cover this, because that's what it's there for. And we ought to be using it. And Terrence, I take very seriously the public comments and the comments on urban planning partners and our budget issues. They're there. They're things that people really have appropriate comments on, but, and I'm going to ask you, are you comfortable that you can with, I don't know if it's monthly or bi-monthly reports on how the budget's going, because it's a legitimate concern, but I don't see any other way of getting this thing moving on an efficient time other than using them as you suggest for the reason that you suggest. So those are generally my comments. And on Hawthorne's, and I'm going to ask other people to comment. I don't think the Hawthorne's is moving on any that meets up with our needs either, to avoid building at Dorothy Ford Field. We've got a public mandate that we don't go there. We property, and we can always adjust our course later unless I'm missing something to look at that in more detail. But anything that requires, and I'll ask the term, analysis of an easement is by definition a legal process that isn't going to happen overnight. So I personally don't, the contract to add the Hawthorne's right now makes sense, but if things change and that looks good, I can't see a reason why we wouldn't be able to have that conversation and adjust it. Is that accurate on the analysis of conservation or the easement at the Hawthorne's?
Yes, presumably that probably would not be something that urban planning partners would offer.
Correct.
Rather, that would be the amount of the Hawthorne's site, I believe, Terrence, correct, to the contract. So that would be but it could always be amended if the town wanted to analyze it and include it.
And I
in
know
the
that you're not able to comment on the substance, but
Correct,
on the
yeah.
process and
Yes.
the approach, that's helpful. So maybe people could come back around, talk about the Hawthorne's and whether they think it's, their viewpoint on a delay and have the manager integrate her comments into it. Craig, I'll start with you.
So with respect to the Hawthorns, I mean, sure, I'd love to see it get analyzed at some point, but I also want to see this get finished in January, and I don't think what they're going to do for Hawthorns before January, let alone be ready to commit to something. So I agree with Judith. I think we just, if after some discussions between council or subcommittees or whatever, and mid-pan are fruitful, then sure, we can decide to amend the contract and add more money. Okay with that, but I wouldn't change. I was concerned, I did ask at the beginning that, is going to get the job done. So I'm expecting that this is not coming back to ask for. So I'm sympathetic. I don't know the right way. Planning director, but I also don't want to, 4 months from now say, oh, well, money because didn't get it done. So is there some assurance here that it's going to get done? Like,
Yes. I don't know how this project was managed in the past. I was not here. But I did actually work with our planning partners on plans in Brentwood, California, which we brought in ahead of schedule with no budget changes the time. It requires intensive management from the town staff, and that's what I would provide.
good, okay. And then the last thing is, I'm happy to have the new work with the planning director, but the new town manager is the town manager and the planning director is the planning director. The last thing I want is for our town manager becoming the assistant planning director. Like, that's not okay with me. So, I want Terrence, you to do your job. Having Darcy sort of review it and work with you to help you succeed. That's great. To help you, but not to be the planning director. That's not her job. So I think that's where I stand on this. I would move forward. I think that if there are issues get identified, then either the planning director and staff work on it directly or comes back to discuss it. But if we want to get done January, February timeframe, Judith, I think we need to move. I think it's time for this particular project, particularly given it ties directly to Dorothy Ford Park, which we've spent so much time and energy basically work with the community and basically find alternatives, which is fabulous. I mean, that we were going to succeed at removing this from the process. And this is the culmination of that. So I'm all for getting it done ASAP.
Okay, Mary, please comment on the Hawthorns. Go ahead.
Yeah, I am feeling a feeling of dissent here, and this that I do think that MROSD is saying that we're the ones holding this up, not that they're holding it, because we haven't clarified our interest in the affordable housing there. They feel they've got a partner, that they thought the partner had a July deadline. So they have been quite urgent in terms of their deadline, wanting to move ahead with the historic complex. So I want to meet that in an informed fashion and a strengthened fashion. And if in fact this contract is going to give us strength, and particularly as it directly relates to open space, it's a nice to be able to say to the HCD, look, not only we actually think that this open space would be better for housing than Dorothy Ford Field, and have a MRSD be able to hear that as a town, our message. And I think just sort of throwing it in is to increase costs and have costs overrun. If we say, oh, we'll not talk about Hawthorns until after these other three are analyzed, opportunity to force overruns. So that's my feeling about Hawthorns and the timeline, both. Uh,
Terrence, I want to clarify something. If this contract amount assumes no Hawthorns in it,
That's correct.
so the budget would go up today. Hawthorns in it, right?
Correct.
Yeah, okay. Just want to be clear that it's not an overrun. It would increase it out of the gate. Okay,
Yes.
okay.
Yeah, I know that.
And one thing I do want to make clear, I'm proposing that we focus on on the 3 sites as a part of this, the general plan. That does not mean that if another amendment is desired going down the road to do something else, that can't be done under a separate contract or even purely by staff. So I'm not saying that you're overriding the ad hoc committee's recommendation. It's just in the interest of time, and also projects that are gonna happen by 2030. That's the other thing.
Yeah.
That's important for the state. They're not gonna want to see it kicked down the road to the next cycle. They're gonna want to see projects that can happen by 2030. So, so I just want to be clear. It's not saying that can never happen. Focusing on the 3 most feasible approaches.
Okay.
Properties.
Thank you. And Rebecca, Hawthorns and Tyne.
Mm.
Okay. Could you just clarify real quick for me, actual acreage sites?
It's about.
I'm sorry, I don't have that on the top of my head.
Okay. Okay.
What,
Say, oh,
Sure, sure.
I will stand at the mic.
yeah, you have to come up to the mic.
please?
I may be a little bit off on my numbers here, but if I recall correctly, Village Square is about 2.2 acres. It wasn't quite as big as the 2.48. Christ Church is over 2 acres, might even be 3. And the Fogarty property that Betsy was about 5 acres, correct? So those are round numbers, but that would give you an idea.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And Fogarty doubles
It, let's, rough
Um,
justice
Hawthorne.
is fine.
On the Fogarty property, the total size of the parcel is 14 acres, but buildable area was about 5.
Right.
Okay, maybe 3.
Okay.
3 to
Okay,
5.
let's keep moving.
Okay. So my perspective on the Hawthorns is that we're talking already about create or whatever it is, sort of an alliance with, have a couple of town council members participate in defining the historic complex. Having gone on that little field trip, we talked quite a lot about the idea of potentially having housing somewhere in that historic complex, whether it was in the garage, which is a beautiful building, maybe the mansion, but that brought up a lot of issues and what have you. I don't want to just have urban planning. That's my feeling about it. I think that's something that this subcommittee of town council members with staff, once that gets formed, then we can move forward with the Hawthorns, with Mid-Penn, to talk about options for that. As we know, staff is going to be working, hopefully, a couple of weeks to resolve the access road issue for the fire road. So that hopefully we move forward on its own. So I don't want to add Hawthorns to urban planning part. Recognize said was that this is about updating our amendments with properties that will replace Ford Field. We don't have to in the future update our housing element with Hawthorns in order to build there. To build there, we would have to do some new zoning, but that could be as a separate process. And I would actually heavily Midpens department to facilitate that for us. Very willing to do. We don't need urban planning partners at this point working on. My feeling is that we just leave them with these three, even the first two. Would be more where I'd put my emphasis. Certainly whatever we need. And then I would hope that, if you really ride them hard, that they would be able to quick manner. I don't know if the contract says if they pay fewer hours. I hope that was so that maybe if we do move forward with the contract tonight, that once it starts moving forward and the final things are defined, maybe with some advice from our new work from our end to create fewer hours on their end, that we would save some money. Absolutely, this is the final number. Urban planning partners can come back with requests for more money, and if spending a little bit less time on making flashy PowerPoints for our community events, maybe they provide the meat and we do the flash. I don't know, but I really would like us to think about how we can keep these costs under as much as possible, and preferably to keep it lower than what they've actually proposed. So in that case, if we could, I would be okay with moving forward. Parents, but
At the contract, I just want to be clear, what are we ready to affect and what? Thinking about these efficiency, looking at streamlining, what is your
So when I look
proposal?
at the scope of work, I had a lot of I think there's a lot of questions that need by the staff internally, as they communicate with the urban planning partners, as they get through and update the work and forward with stuff. So the better they have it here, the better they'll be able to communicate when urban planning partners come with questions, so that things are more efficient.
So just breaking it down to what we're approving, recommendation, that things are streamlined, that we're being very thoughtful about costs. I don't think are you saying you'll move forward with a project tonight and not include the Hawthorne?
Yeah, not approve the Hawthorne addition. I think, I'm willing to go ahead and approve the even though I have reservations.
Okay, and I'm sure they'll be open to your questions and outside of this meeting. So I'm not trying to shut down any good thoughts there, but I just want to know what we're going to do tonight because we have two more items. Mary, go ahead.
Just want to make it clear that the ad hoc housing committee did recommend these four elements, and that this is a motion to unilaterally take one of those out.
No, it's a recommendation to prioritize 3 to get started, to get Dorothy Ford out of the current housing element. And I do think, Mary, I would be open to Hawthorne's I don't think, I'm not saying I won't include it.
No, I feel,
Okay.
I don't know if anybody hears my thought that it makes sense if it. You hear it. You all hear it loud and clear. I think.
Okay. Okay. All right. Could I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, thank you. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
I ask one
Opposed?
clarifying,
please.
clarification that in the amount of
62,000.
270, and that does not include the contingent. So just wanted to be clear,
The
Terrence, that's
contingency.
the amount of the contract didn't include that 10%.
That's correct. I subtracted the contingency.
Okay,
Oh, thank you for that clarification.
okay, great, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, and any opposed?
One,
Okay.
me.
So three in favor, one opposed, passes. Okay. Terrence, you're up again. The next item is the completion of the Portola Valley General Plan safety element. So probably similar, but different context. So go ahead.
So, the safety element, work was done. Actually, let me find the staff report so I get the date.
Page 100.
The, work was done, to update the safety element. Our existing safety element was adopted in July of 2010, so it's been a while. Beginning in 2021, the town embarked on an effort to update the safety. The majority of the work was complete, or at least majority, including the production of a draft element and outreach, including basically a compendium of questions and comments that came from the public that the consultant still is keeping track of. The outreach included an open house and committee meeting, but at some point when the housing element was decided, it was decided by staff to pause the effort on the safety element, to focus on that effort. And then subsequent to that, the contract was actually terminated, and the money that was left over for that contract brought in to help balance the budget. As you recall, there was a difficult challenge in the last budget cycle trying to find enough money to balance the budget, and this was one element that was taken out, so that in order to finish the housing element, we do a new contract. In order to finish the safety element, we do contract. The effort is to really pick up where we left off. However, we can't simply pick up where we left off because the community hasn't been engaged in this process the whole way. So we really need to do a restart. At least this is my professional opinion, and the consultant shares it. We need to do a restart where we engage the community, explain the history, past, explain the draft document, bring in any new comments, any additions, address the fire safety maps that were at the time of it being paused. They were expected soon, but it ended up being 9 months later. So the idea is to take that completed document, pick up that effort, but do it with a very transparent process with and produce a new draft. And of course, I do want to stress, our partner in this effort is Woodside Fire Protection District. The state does have an oversight role, but really the main work that is going to involve a close coordination with Woodside Fire Protection District staff. So I just wanted to be clear about that. So the idea is to get this housing element to adjust the changes that we have, adjust the comments we had, create a new draft that the community can react to, and also bringing in robust comments from the fire protection. And there's a work scope and a schedule that is attached, and staff's recommending to move forward with that. I have conferred with the. I was quite concerned that they're able to do both efforts at the same time, and I did confer with them that in fact they have the bandwidth to move both these efforts forward simultaneously. The community outreach is sort of offset because the community outreach for the safety element starts very quickly, and the community outreach for the housing element occurs after they've done more analysis. So again, staff's recommending that we approve the contract and move forward. In this case, the amount of the contract is $42,178, and that is within what was budgeted for the project. be happy to answer any questions you have.
Great. Rebecca, do you want to get started? Question?
So it's interesting to me that you've mentioned that the Woodside Fire Protection District is going to be integral to this project, but they're not. So I guess I'm a little confused about that. It certainly talks about CAL FIRE, but it doesn't talk about Woodside Fire in the scope of work.
The consultant's scope of work, views Woodside's involvement as being more of a day-to-day rather than a one-time submittal. So Woodside's not because they're a part of this effort, the entire time through the process. There's a requirement to submit the safety element to CAL FIRE, and that's what's referenced in the scope of work. But that doesn't mean that Woodside Fire isn't the key. They're the provider of fire protection in this community, and they are going to be involved in, as they were involved, by the way, in the past effort. And it wasn't a draft that was generated without their input, and that would continue. I should have been more clear with the consultant in explaining that, but
Can you clarify what Atlas Planning role is project?
Atlas Planning it basically does safety element work. Their role, they're a consulting role firm that addresses safety, fire safety issues.
Just fire safety?
Yes.
So are you anticipating Atlas and Woodside Fire working on other emergency issues that are in a earthquake and the flooding, or is it just the fire section?
Atlas is gonna give us advice on all elements.
Let me see if I have some more questions. So, I guess the list of compiled comments from the committees, they left off this scope of work, left off the sustainability committee. But we, when I was on that committee, provided comment. I did locate them all. So they are all under the section, if you dig into all the different tabs. So is that all, do you feel that that's all the comments that have been submitted by our committees? or do you feel like all the comments that are listed, included on the website under the safety element, are all the comments that have not yet been incorporated?
Yes.
Okay, and then
There are some public comments that would not be listed under the committee's comments, of course.
okay, and then I guess the question I started to ask before on the wrong section was, we approved the San Mateo County local hazard. Explain sort of the difference between that and the safety element. What, my understanding, that's sort of, or maybe.
They have different purposes, but they interrelate. So they're based on the data from the local hazard mitigation plan and the safety element, strengthen each other. But the local hazard mitigation plan's goal, identify areas of danger and come up with methods, projects to mitigate that danger. The safety element is a more general discussion of how the town's general plan promotes safety. It's more of a goal-based approach. It's not necessarily we have a certain area of fire danger that we have to address, and we should do X, Y, or Z about it. So local hazard mitigation plan is more specific, and it really ideally is, and of course the the fire marshal could probably answer this better than me, but a local hazard mitigation plan usually almost like a programming document where you to go get money to get grants to address the issues. The safety element is different. It's covering safety concerns for the general plan, and make sure that that, for example, you don't want to be promoting some housing in an area. You want to be able to make sure that the housing element is consistent.
And has any legislation passed with regard original draft?
Not that I'm aware of significant, but
So do you, it is in your opinion that significant to incorporate the comments? I mean, the fire section aside, because obviously we need to. Throughout the document, do you consider that there is?
I don't think so. But we'll hear from the committees. We'll hear from the public whether they agree.
So your
Further changes.
plan is to go to the public first, update the document the best it can be, or, thorough, and then go to the public and ask if we forgot something.
Well, I think we should reintroduce the community to the process before we do a new draft. So I think we want to restart the effort with some public outreach, probably an open house, but maybe a joint committee meeting, something. But that's not decided yet. But so there is outreach that we need early, and then incorporation of all the comments and more input.
Okay, those are my questions. Thank you.
Okay, great. Mary?
Yes, I have a question. And this is my ignorance, or at least I've forgotten. We look so carefully at this element. Whether there's any attention paid to public health coming off of a epidemic, we are, and preparing for many more to come. Thank you very much. Should we have some recognition of public health? And if so, is that a huge change that's going to cost us lots of money?
I'm gonna have to apologize. I'm not really aware of that. I think that, but I'd have to get back to you on whether that's in our existing draft.
Yeah. And just to comment that, or to say that I don't see that anywhere in our town governance and ordinances that we're paying much attention to public health. And that was woefully obvious during the COVID epidemic. There was a lot of ignorance and a lot of, we didn't have a proper structure in place to actually allay people's fear.
Mary, questions? We're still on questions.
The question there is there a precedent for that in safety element?
I'm not aware, but we
Yeah.
can look into that.
Thank you.
Okay. Craig?
I guess my question is, you talk about community engagement, but I mean, the sort of scope of work, it talks about that they'll prepare. And so it seems like one open house is not going to do it if we haven't sort of updated the draft, got Woodside Fire's input. So I guess the order sounds a little wrong to me. Like, it seems like we should take our draft, take the comments we have, re-review it with Woodside Fire as the professionals, do maybe a light version of the update, and then go get public input on something that's closer to final. Maybe it's final. It's not like, oh, this is going to be completely different next. That seems like, unless you're planning multiple meetings, and it doesn't. I mean, certainly in scope of work, they're not planning multiple. So.
Question.
Well, that was a question. I mean, I heard it was multiple meeting. I heard we were going to basically get input, and then we were going to basically go work on the draft and then get more input. And when I look at the scope of work, it doesn't seem like that's what's happening. So question is, I'm looking for clarification on what's the plan.
Yes, within the scope of work, scope of work is, it's bullet points. But within the scope of work, the adjustments can be made for issues like that you're suggesting. So scope of work doesn't explicitly say that, but it's, your suggestion makes sense to me.
Okay, I'm just worried that when I'm reading task 2, it says scope include. And so if we change the scope, then we potentially cost.
I think
I'm missing
one
that.
question, Craig, that I would have
Please go ahead.
is task 1 necessarily before task 2 necessarily 3, et cetera.
Exactly. Those can be moved around.
It can be moved around. They're just put down in not in necessarily in timing order.
Correct.
Okay.
No, I mean, that's certainly helpful. Because I'm just trying to understand the process here. I'm also trying to understand the interaction between this and the Safety and Resilience Subcommittee of the council. So what are your thoughts on that interaction?
Frankly, I'd want input from the subcommittee on what the interaction they'd like to see.
And
Who's on that?
Rebecca, and that's all. So,
We can talk about that.
yeah,
when
we can
come
have
back.
more
Yeah,
discussion.
let's.
I'm trying to
that.
keep in question, so I hate that. So
Yeah.
that-
Yeah, subcommittee role. Okay, I don't have any questions. So I'll go to public comment. There is no Schoolhouse and Nan Shostad has her hand up. So Nan, go ahead.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thanks. Oh, yeah, I'm struggling to understand the process here. So, and maybe clarification will be coming. But yeah, one thing I wanted to say was I agree with the several comments about keeping everything under budget or within budget for the consultant's time. I think there's a lot that can be done with the subcommittee of the town council and the staff and the committees before the consultants get involved. We do need the consultants. I know there are 4 state laws that have requirements for the safety element, so it's pretty complicated legally. But in terms of getting our comments in, I think the committees need to go back and review their comments. It's been, what, 2.5 years, 2 years? 2 years since we commented, and see if there's been any, if there are any more thoughts. So I would love to see the committees have the opportunity, and without consultants, to review their comments and, make any changes they think are necessary. I know that my committee's thinking has evolved since we made the comments in the spring of 2 years ago. And we've been very specific about the impact on evacuation of an earthquake before a fire, for instance. And that is hinted at in our comments from 2 years ago. But I think we need to be very specific in the safety element about evacuation issues. So, okay, in terms of the schedule, I have some scheduling issues with my committee. I've got one person who's doing field work in Alaska and Japan and won't be back until toward the end of September, yet supposedly there's a geologic safety committee meeting on the safety element in September. So I'd like to be in close contact with whoever the lead person is who's doing the scheduling. And if it's Terrence, that's great. If it's someone from urban planning, then I'd like to be able to talk with that person. And that's about all. But I am really very happy that the safety element is going to get done. Because we need to do.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
All right, coming back now, question, Craig.
Yeah, I guess I'm struggling. This contract feels a little premature to me. We absolutely made our commitment. We want to here. I don't feel like our ducks are lined up. I don't feel like we've pulled this information that, from the other committees. We can certainly go out, at least ask the chairs and say, hey, this is what we got from you. Does this still seem like it's right? I see Woodside Fire back there nodding their head. Like, yeah, we have some ideas, maybe significant changes to sort of scope this out. I don't feel like I understand the scope. And my concern is generally, if we were doing this in-house with staff, I'd be fine with that out. But my direct experience, I think it was Urban Partners, but it was certainly with one of our consultants. I mean, they came in and didn't seem to understand how the town worked. Like MFA was like a foreign concept for them in terms of residential stuff, which is sort of fundamental to the way the town worked. And I found that frightening that we were way down the line trying to correct that because they had just started with the scaffolding, and it's quite expensive to sort of undo. So my concern here is that I think we might be well served by spending a little bit more time. Maybe it's the subcommittee working with you, Terrence, let's just pull this stuff together and make sure that the scope of work and what we have is really what we need. Then go talk to them. Oh yeah, sure, we get what you mean, and that's no problem. Versus, oh, well, we thought this meant X, and now you're telling it means Y. Well, that's going to cost. That's really my concern. There could be a fairly significant disconnect.
Could I ask you a question in that frame of mind? I guess it depends on, like, would it be appropriate to approve and then say, but work should not start until X happens? I just want to know what you're thinking in terms of what we can do to.
Right. My recommendation is the reason is normally I would say if we understood the scope, details, that would be fine. But I'm worried that when we pull together, that the scope might, then are we going to write a new contract? But we already, and I'm just a little gun shy with the consultants at this point, that if we go back to them and say, oh, well, that scope of work, we actually want to do a slightly different one. And that's a work change order. If you have a real contractor and you do a change order, it's cha-ching. So my recommendation is maybe we get our act tightened up, and then maybe what we have here is fine. Go forward with it, but maybe we tighten this up. That would be my suggestion.
Can you be more specific on what you want to have happen before? And then we'll go to other committee, council members.
Yeah, at a minimum, if you will, print out all, looking at them, get the public comment, read through them, get Woodside Fire's just rough sense of are the kinds of changes made. I don't need all their, here's the exact wordage, but just a scoping on what kind of change they would be expecting. And then, like Nan was saying, while we the geologic have a different, that's fine. Just get a scope from them. I think that would be the
Okay.
step.
Okay. Mary, how about you? Do you have?
Well, I'd agree with Craig. The one thing that sort of feels missing to me is that consultants are not. Is that atypical? That why wouldn't we see the faces if they can? That just thought. I realize they do nothing for free, and that makes me feel even more uncomfortable. That they're working for our safety, right? We're trying to get them to work for our safety. So I'm for the delaying this as well. But I really appreciate your I was glad to see the three faces, by the way. even though we saw them twice and it's apparently the same three people. But I've never met any of them, but I've seen their names around.
And Mary, can I make one comment? I mean, the scope of work is our job to produce. They don't need to defend our scope of, that's Terrence generated. So the fact they're not here, that to me is not an issue. They shouldn't be here to defend what we're asking them to do. Like, you're asking us to do it. So that would be sort of weirdly, that would be a weird loop, yeah. So.
And I think what you're suggesting makes a lot of sense. So honestly, we were pushing this forward maybe faster than is
Well,
ideal.
Terrence,
Yeah.
let's let Rebecca and I comment, and then you can take the whole, don't,
Actually, I probably
It's-
don't need to speak at all.
no, you do, but not, it's just. So Mary, are you done?
I'm done.
Okay, Rebecca?
So I completely agree with Greg. So we're both on the subcommittee for the safety element, and we have met recently. We've talked a little bit about what we feel needs to happen and summarized what we feel that we as a subcommittee, working with staff, need to sign any contract, because neither of us have a good sense of all the work that does need to be done. So I would definitely recommend we delay that until we do the comments provided and to actually talk to some of the safety committee, have new input to the current draft, to give us an opportunity to go and look at other cities' safety elements, because I've been starting to do that. I've had help with my actual fact. What is it called? Do I have a note here? The county actually a few years ago with, I guess, 20, worked with 8 different, it's called the Peninsula Resilience Plan. So they worked with, I don't know, 8 or 9 to help them create safety elements. And I'm not at all sure why Portola Valley was included or didn't participate or wasn't invited. We don't know that answer, but certainly that would have saved us a fortune. So, but the end result of that group's work is that quite a few of these communities have updated. So Menlo Park just updated theirs 2024. There, there's others that have updated. So we have plenty of updated safety elements. And what I've found working with some of these very, very expensive consultants is that they've either involved in that work, and so then they're cutting and pasting their own for us and charging us for it, or they're cutting and pasting someone else's work and their own work. And we're, in my mind, like you said, you didn't feel like there's a huge amount of change for most of the document, along with, of course, the fire stuff. So I would really want to have an opportunity to examine it myself to see what I felt compared to these brand new safety elements, but we're missing, to get a better idea of what that scope is. Because I have gone through our current safety element, and I don't feel like it's a rocket science sort of situation compared to sort of some of the housing element changes. Certainly we will eventually need urban planning partners. Some of the drawings or the technical or moving in the maps and that sort of thing. I think it's premature to move forward with this contract right this minute. I think a delay of 1 or 2 months probably necessary, because the deadline is definitely a self-imposed deadline. We definitely want to get it done, but I think this is going to speed it up by having us tighten up that scope.
Okay.
Oh,
What
and then
bad
I
thing
guess
could
one
hap-
other comment, sorry. I also wanted to draw attention to the fact that we hired urban. They came back into the and asked for another 35,000 work on it. And then they came back in 2023 and asked for another 22,500 to ask to work on the safety element, because they still hadn't finished. We were already out 100 with urban planning partners in each case, promising a finished safety element. And here we are, they're asking for another. A little nervous jumping ahead and hiring them for that as well.
Okay, all right. So what bad thing could happen if 2 months?
Nothing.
Well, nothing other than maybe lacking the guidance from a safety element
Yes.
we will live in. But there's no HCD
There's no.
oversight at this point because it is a legal requirement. And could they use it to say you're out of compliance again? Like, is there a precedent for them to do?
There's no precedent. I know how elements of a general plan need to be consistent with each other.
Right.
So, to the extent that a 2010 plan might have things that
Yeah.
other elements, it's possible, but
Mhm.
there is no enforcement from the state on. They look at the housing element law and they find out whether we're in substantial compliance with housing element or our housing element. They aren't looking at looking at other elements and how they interact.
I thought, well, because of the consistency, I thought they could use it as a way to pull through us being out of compliance. If there's no precedent for that, we're not aware of other jurisdictions, then that's fine. That's helpful information.
I've never heard of them finding a housing element out of compliance because of
The safety
safety
element
element.
being late. Okay. All right. So I think getting organized before we get the contractor, the independent. I will say it's a natural problem when one picks up a project and puts it down and then picks it up later. There will be inefficiencies. And I would argue the original process was for all the examples that you've heard. So it is going to be really important to get the process aligned. There's going to be a balance between going back to committees who got something ready for a given deadline to and saying, well, what do you think now? So I am frankly concerned about people reinventing the wheel because clearly 2 years' time has elapsed and nothing. So I think we're going to have trouble keeping to a timeline going forward, practically speaking, and it's fault. It's just natural human nature. So I would ask you to work with the new town manager and consult with us to articulate a timeline. It doesn't have to be terribly granular but making sure that here are the sequences of us getting organized so everything can be efficient. And then we engage. And then here's what it looks like after that, because I think there that could be clarified. The committees do need to refresh their memory after 2 years, so that I would urge you to start that outreach, get restarted. Here's what we have, please current, or please confirm there's nothing else missing from the website. And the other notes I have for a future date, I think, are worth looking at public health for sure. If that's not something people are doing in their safety element at this point in time, well, so be it. But there's probably other things if the council prioritizes that aspect as well. And that's a conversation we can have, but have a look and see others address it. And then clearly reaching out to Woodside Fire, and making sure that we're getting organized so that once the spend starts, that that we're teed up as well as we can. And again, just asking you and the town manager to organize the process and be communicating with us on where it is and what, it'll come back, I think. Gotta come back. But, engage us to be sounding boards if it's for preparing to come back. So those are my main thoughts on the big picture items that we discussed. So I think, can I? Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, please. If you wish, please come up to public wants.
Good evening. Good evening, everyone. I just wanted to give a follow-up so that just aware it's not that there's legal negative consequences, not or up-to-date safety elements, but one of the things to consider and think about with you, if there ever is any kind of disaster, wildfire, whatever, and you need money from FEMA or funding to help pay back anything, that process
Okay.
because you don't have a safety element in place. Likewise, grant funding, grants that you apply for, it will delay, not that you're going to get denied, but it'll delay
Yeah.
that is revolved around safety. So just so you have that
That's very helpful.
in your minds.
That's exactly what I was trying to look for is what should we be looking toward to inform our setting priorities and timing? And those do concern me. So I wouldn't like to see this be very delayed. And so I think the outreach to the subcommittee or the committees, not the subcommittee, does have to say, this is here's how the process is gonna work and put frameworks around how long they could to get up to speed again and provide any because that is my worry. I'm worried about slip, but 2 years delay, you can't avoid some amount of it. Anyone else want to comment or?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that we have a safety.
Right.
We already have a safety element. This is just an update. So not sure that that would have an impact on FEMA. Have a safety.
No, as long as you have an approved and in.
Yeah.
As long as you have.
Oh, we have one,
And-
yeah.
Okay. I wasn't sure if that had been opened up for updates. Because once you open it up, then, so I wasn't sure where you are in the process.
No, we haven't approved.
Yes.
Okay,
All right.
thank you.
Thank you. All right, so we'll still, all deliberate speed is the legal language, and that's what I would like to see. All deliberate speed. Well, I think need a motion to bring it back or?
I don't believe so, but I think we've got staff direction, but we feel like we need a motion to clarify anything.
We want to commit.
That's what I would like to see. But I do think we've got to give people targets.
Yeah, I think I don't think you need, I think you don't technically, I hear your direction. I don't think you technically need a,
Okay, then we're good.
you don't technically need any kind of motion. You're
Okay.
just not going to take action on this
Yeah.
and that's that. But
Okay.
I do hear you. And I actually think what I've heard is, a sit down with the subcommittee.
Yeah.
Maybe a good first step to kind of lay out a roadmap. So,
Mhm.
that's what I'll be pursuing.
Great. Thank you for your hard work on both of these. We know it's complicated. All right, we're going to move on to 7F, which is considering a resolution designating
So this
Staff
will be
report.
mine to introduce.
Yep.
And then we'll get with the council. Basically, first I want to acknowledge that the heavy lifting work that's been done here, with Councilmember Flynn and Catherine McGill. I had promised to other council members about checking on any unintended consequences or anything here. And what I've done is done that research, but the thing and I've looked at staff reports from Redwood. 2 city managers I trust. And then I checked with the ABAG information, other information. But the big compelling thing to me was I have 3 of our Brown Act committees took this up. 3 of them wanted it in front of the council. So here it is.
Okay.
And all the information from them. And they all took it seriously. Votes, discussions, and so forth. And what I learned was that there aren't any significant unintended consequences. My biggest concern, what impact this would have on private organizations, private companies, private business. And it doesn't because it remains under the town's responsibility. But it does give us a chance, as you will hear, it gives us a chance to apply for some grants, and so forth. And these other, the Redwood City just approved it recently. So that's why it's in front of you. And I think it's a worthy cause. Sure that I'm not going to do a major present. Everything that has been done by the team of Flynn and McGill
Mhm.
and the committees is in the packet.
Okay,
So
great.
thank you.
Thank you. Does the council have any questions?
So I just had one question, and you brought up Redwood City. So I sort of got Alpine because it's got the creek stuff, but we sort of think of road as. So is there a reason that we chose Alpine Redwood City? What did they choose? Like what was their equivalent?
I don't know what Redwood City chose. They probably chose an urban greening project for.
Okay.
Yeah, they had a couple of areas and I have those off before I did this report.
So in terms of choosing Alpine Road, we Portola, and it actually ended up being an enormous amount of work. You have to actually go into their program, their GI map out the contours and stuff, and it was a huge amount of work just to do Pine Road. Back consultant to help us with that. So we felt that we'd just start with Alpine Road, and if it worked well, then we would, in a future project, in a future grant, whatever, future opening of program, that then we would add the Portola Road as well. But I just thought this would be a starter.
Okay. Mary, questions?
My main question is, how is Rebecca capable of having such a rapid learning curve? She became a stellar council member in 1 year?
It's because
6 months.
Rebecca does not.
It's phenomenal. And the fact that that we all have been dying to have done, it's mind boggling. It's a big question.
Okay. Rebecca, I assume you do not have questions. Okay, I don't either. So I'll open up for public comment. I see no hands online. There's no one in the schoolhouse. Oh, wait, here's Christy.
When now? Yeah.
Christy, go ahead.
Yeah. Good work on this. I guess I have a few questions on, does it cover the whole town? I'm noticing even Redwood City has a large swath of land and many MROSD has a lot of land in it. I think Redwood City did Redwood Shores and then Bear Island and West Point Slough and
Yeah, there were several.
they're large. So I guess my question is, does it cover the whole town? And what can we do to help make it that way? Because we really do feel like we live in a preservation area. And if you can clarify the corner of Alpine and Portola Road and all of Portola Road that was not included, if you could talk a little bit about that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Christy. And I think the answer was what Rebecca just said, which is Alpine Road was viewed as a starting point for now to see if this could proceed, but go ahead, Rebecca. Enhance anything.
If you review the packet, we have the sort of the presentation that was given to the various committees. And it includes the exact mapping corridor that we're looking to have designated as a priority conservation. It does not include the entire town. It's very difficult to get that passed. There the restrictions for what ABAG allows, and if information that's provided in the packet, we'll be able to understand a little bit better. We don't have much natural land in the community. There are already significant natural lands that are already covered as PCAs. That it includes the entire Hawthorns. Those are already designated PCAs because Midpin and Post already submitted for those. So that's already a big, huge chunk of the town. We don't qualify for working land. Urban greening is a designation for us. So that's why we chose the recreation designations, because those are the ones that fit best with the Alpine roads.
Thank you. All right, bringing it back for discussion. Does anyone have comments? Craig, do you have any comments?
My only comment is thank you for the work. I think this.
Okay, Mary?
Me too.
Okay, I'll say me too. So I would look for a motion to adopt the resolution 2025 approving the nomination of the Alpine Roads Corridor as a priority to ABAG.
I so move.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any
Aye.
opposed? Okay, motion passes.
Thank you very much.
Great. We are through our agendized.
So I think you have to ask for public comments on reports, don't we?
Yeah, I was just about to move.
Oh, okay. I thought you
We're
were.
not adjourning. No, not at all. So I would like to, but we do need to invite public. And I also could add one verbal report. So should asking for public comments on the written submission. Yeah, I'll go ahead and do it. All right, so we on July 17th or 18th, we held a coffee with the mayor. There were approximately people there, and various topics were raised. Some of them were staff are very specific, staff is about, but the more general topics were the EPC was raising the signage for the emergency radio station. People were asking questions on the Fogarty. Some people were asking about an update on Hawthorns. There was also a request for ability into schedule, similar to evening. Comments were made about the ASCC Planning Commission needing to be more engaged. Comments were made on the sheriff role in town, give break-ins and see more visibility and have information on tickets issued because of speeding Portola Road. And EPC also mentioned prioritizing sheltering in place plans for the town. So the subcommittee might want to put that into recommend back. Update on what we discussed tonight as far as that. And then there is a series of incidents and just coalescing at the same time at the town center involving dogs off leash and someone who was injured, not dramatic, but impactful to. So we need to be looking at how we want to make. Those are the bullet points forward, and it's great to see people and buy in town. So that's it. All right.
I had one
ahead.
similar to that. My office every Wednesday that we have a council member meeting. I had an interesting discussion with Nancy Luck, who is our town historian. She, I don't want to overemphasize this at all, but they've been very independent during the time of transition for these last 2.5 years. They're non committee. And as a result, they were, I guess, were not budget. They're not asked to. They have financial need for a computer because Windows on their computer, and they don't have adequate memory storage. They're a really hardworking committee that does great work. They meet every week, and they have at least two suggestions for need to update the historic resource section that they'd like to bring forward. So that's that.
Okay.
Do we want to go over these comments or?
Well,
no?
first
had a
we
couple
take
of things I
public
would-
comment, actual liaison report. So if there's no other verbal report, let's take public comment and then we can come back. So I'm not seeing any hands in the schoolhouse. I see no online, so I can bring it right back. And we can't talk about any of these in substance questions or anything. Feel free.
Could you just say what the that you mentioned for your coffee after the
After well, I don't know what, that was AM 680 and Fogarty.
Oh, Fogarty, yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Okay, Mary, any questions or clarifications?
Questions or clarifications about other people? No, I think they're good.
Okay. All right, I think we can ask,
I have one.
yes, please.
So on the ASCC report, so my question to F is, what are we doing to missing vacancy?
Thank you.
ASCC is missing a member.
Yeah. So
AS,
Architectural super.
yeah, so I was just asking, what are we doing to fill that vacancy?
Maybe we should be doing something.
Well, I mean, we certainly need to advertise for it and try to fill it, so.
I have nothing that I'm moment, except that there's been a request that we look at the qualifications for people who serve on the ASC, that it would not only be residents, but property owners. That's about as far as the conversation I've had. I've not advertised.
mm-hmm,
I know we have a vacancy,
mm-hmm.
so I will add it to my transition list.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
would be appreciated.
We have to
See you
fill
raise some
that,
ins-
yeah.
And I need to get insights into the question about who can serve on it. I know we had that one evening when somebody was here, and at the last minute, they were told they couldn't serve.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, we have a gap.
Okay.
I have my notes on it, and we'll add it to the list.
Mm-hmm. Okay,
Thanks. Thank you very much.
And then I had one comment. I might have a computer.
Yeah, I thought I had, occurred to me that I had one too.
So, okay.
okay, great, thank you. Thanks,
Yeah,
everybody. Motion to adjourn.
So
So moved and seconded by three of
Whatever.
us.
Okay, we're all in agreement.
I.
All in favor?
Aye. No one
Aye.
Good
opposed.
night, everybody.
Good
Thank
night.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Congratulations, Darcy.
Yeah.